All right, so somebody's going to need to tell Raiola, going to have to let him know that he's only got about 6 more weeks to flip again. So if he wants to flip again, he doesn't have that much time to get it done. All right, just a little joke there. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Appreciate y'all being here for the Big Ten Live Show. Pardon our tardiness tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We will take your comments and questions, of course, and we will take your calls as well. We will get to those in just a second. So, of course, the big news of the day, much anticipated, much expected. So no big breaking news in regards to taking anyone off guard or by surprise. Dylan Raiola has flipped from Georgia to Nebraska. He at one point flipped from Ohio State to Georgia. And there was some thought during this entire process that he would eventually make his way back to where there is some legacy. His uncle's the offensive line coach, played at Nebraska, and of course the family connection to the University of Nebraska. And so Dylan Raiola, one of the top prospects in the country, top quarterbacks. Matt Rule, of course, needs a big play to get this program headed in the right direction. Not that he didn't take some strides in the 2023 season, but this is what is required of these programs to really take a leap. So Matt Rule, great job again. There's about, less than 48 hours to National Signing Day, in which it's expected Dylan Raiola would sign with Nebraska on National Signing Day. Otherwise, the second National Signing Day, of course, in February. So technically, again, Dylan Raiola only has about 8 weeks to flip again. All right, let's get right to the phone lines because we see that we've got a Husker faithful here. Alan is joining us tonight. Alan, what's going on tonight?
Well, I was shocked. I really didn't think it was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
They were talking for over a week, and I thought maybe he was going to go to USC or something,
No, I did not know that. So with all the talk, since he has, didn't even decommit from Georgia, but with all the talk in the last week and from all the sources that I have, and I'm not saying that I have any in-depth sources by any stretch. I'm talking about many of the same sources that everyone else has. Yeah, I did not know that anyone else was in play. So I was anticipating this happening at any time. We've got our Nebraska guy, of course, Justin Adams. He's doing a live hit on the Nebraska channel right now, and he's been telling me for days. I'll jump on this as soon as it's official and as soon as he makes his commitment, but it's going to come here at any point. So, bam.
Okay, so you said earlier this season, and I took great offense to this, that we were a dumpster fire. Now, with bringing Dylan on.
Okay, I don't recall that exact terminology.
Okay, well, maybe I misheard you. Nonetheless,
how do you think? I don't say that about anyone. So,
how do you think?
I haven't really been saying that about Northwestern or Rutgers or anyone, let alone Nebraska. But anyway, go ahead.
How do you think this changes it? How do you think this changes everything? I mean, we haven't had this type of recruit ever, what I remember.
Well, yeah, the one thing that I do remember saying is during this entire process, whether it was before he committed to Ohio State or during the process in which he was expected to decommit from Ohio State and maybe make that, there was that USC, Georgia, Nebraska triangle going once things soured with Ohio State that this kind of commitment, wow, absolutely, this is enormous because then he recruits players. He recruits players plus other players, even if they don't have a relationship with him, see that, well, there must be something going on there. There must be a reason that a player of that caliber is going to sign with Nebraska.
Aren't you think it's also interesting that his uncle got a pay raise this last week, too?
Well, sure. Yes, absolutely.
And the other thing was, who was the kid from Ohio State that ended up at Syracuse? He was in Lincoln.
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord, poor fellow. Someone's had a joke that he was in Lincoln when he heard that Dylan was going to come to Lincoln, and he got off the elevator and Casey Thompson was standing him trying to get on because Casey's back in Lincoln. and he says, "I've had enough. I'm out of here." So I'm kind of interested to see what Casey's going to do, because if he comes on, that'd be a great backup or starter. I don't know what they're going to do with Dylan.
Casey Thompson coming back to Nebraska.
Yeah, didn't you hear he's rehabbing?
No.
He had torn ACL, and wherever he was, somewhere in Florida.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic.
He's in Lincoln rehabbing.
Okay. I just find that kind of curious, because my reaction to Jeff Sims transferring immediately was, well, this is just competition for Casey Thompson. I never thought Jeff Sims was as good as Casey Thompson. Never thought he was a serious competitor to the job. But I know that Zach Smith, he used to coach at Ohio State, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he comes on here from time to time and told us, and this is well ahead of the Jeff Sims transfer and signing, but when it was rumored that Jeff Sims will be the starting quarterback in Nebraska, and I thought, my goodness, he's not as good as Casey Thompson. But sure enough, Casey Thompson turns around and transfers. Didn't even slug it out for the competition in the spring. But that's under Matt Rule. So for Casey Thompson to come back to Nebraska, I don't know. That just doesn't seem to follow a logical course of the way people deal with each other. Usually, if you've been discarded from a place, that you would be back the next year.
Maybe it's just NIL. Maybe they offered him.
Sure.
Maybe they offered him a backup because look at we lost 3 quarterbacks this year. We went through 3 of them. Sims got hurt supposedly. Then Harburg got hurt. Then Purdy was hurt.
Yeah.
So I think probably at Lincoln, they're looking, hey, as many quarterbacks as we can get. Because I think Raiola will start next year. I think he'll be a starter.
You think he'll start day one?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I would think that if Casey Thompson is there, that, I don't know if he's the best player and he's ready to do it. And of course, he's an early enrollee. Then he's going to have extra time to go through the whole process. So
we'll know April 27th. That's when the spring game is. That's usually a strong indicator who the quarterback will be.
Yeah. Wow. If he's able to win that job, that says a lot for the lack of competition. It also says a lot about him, and he's supposed to be that good. But
And the question next is, people are asking me, my friends down here, Chubba Purdy, does he stick around?
Yeah.
Does he go?
Well, I think it all depends on what these individual players think of themselves. With this transfer portal being what it is, I've seen recently where, there's been a handful of quarterbacks across the country that at one point were kind of a big deal, but realized a little bit later in their careers that that's not where their career is eventually going to be headed, and want to set themselves up for a coach's job eventually. Tristan Gebbia, former Husker, did that a few different places, but most recently Ohio State.
Yeah, I wasn't aware he was at Ohio State. Did he do anything there?
Well, no, that was the point, is that there's no way he would ever play at Ohio State, that he went there to be groomed as a coach, to try to learn, not
I see.
Play. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. But that's some great information you're bringing us, Casey Thompson. They could have used him this past year.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they could have. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You have a great. Oh, Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas to you, Alan. And man, I give you a lot of credit for being as kind and nice as you have been, considering that I may have alluded to Nebraska being a dumpster fire. I just don't picture myself making that comment.
Probably not far from the truth, though, honestly. I mean, we're not Ohio State. I know that's your team. let me ask you one question about Ohio State.
Sure.
I've heard a lot of stuff about Day in trouble, and the fans are pretty angry. Is his job in jeopardy?
Well, of course, he's made it through this season, so I don't believe his job's in jeopardy going in, at any point before they're going to step on the field next season. But if they lose to Michigan again, regardless of what his overall record is, see, that's a tough call, because if the 4-team playoff was still a 4-team playoff, and that was not going to be changed in college football, then there's just it completely changes a level of what you need to do to accomplish your goals eventually. It's more of an NFL model and style to, they can accomplish their goal of winning a national championship and not beat Michigan. But
right,
that's
that's
not
next year, right?
Want.
24.
Yeah, that's exactly. So that's next year. But we've never seen a coach in college football who's winning close to 90% of his games get fired.
Frank Solich was at Nebraska.
He wasn't 56-7.
Well, maybe not, but he was winning 10 games a year.
Yeah, that's his teams were finishing in roughly in the top 15 in the country. They weren't arguably the best team in the country. Like,
no, but
that's a pretty good jump. We've never seen anything.
Well, okay,
we've
so
never
how about
seen a coach who's been coaching one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the country get fired. That's just never happened in college football, unless somebody in the chat can enlighten me to a situation more than 70 years ago. But I would pretty much have the last 70 covered in my brain. To that degree. But I guess anything's possible. If he loses this game 4 years in a row, yeah, it means that much to that school and those fans. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Alan joins us on a regular basis over on the Nebraska channel. We do a Huskers show every Tuesday night. It's at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. And our folks are live right now on the Nebraska channel. Justin Adams taking your comments and questions over the Dylan Raiola situation. I'm just curious about when I would have called Nebraska a dumpster fire. I know that that's a common phrase for a lot of people. I don't really use that. Maybe in reference to something specific about Nebraska. On the field, dumpster fire in regards to discipline, in regards to direction under Scott Frost, a lot of things. Yes, we're in the dumpster fire category at Nebraska. Yes, I think that was a legitimate call in some respects, but the entire operation, when you put it all together, fan base, level of fans, I'm not talking about the quality of the fan base. I'm talking more so of just the sheer numbers of the fan base, facilities, money, resources. Yeah. Maybe if you put those two things together, one of the most underachieving programs. Absolutely one of the most underachieving programs in college football the last 5 or 6 years, have not gone to a bowl game since 2016. Not gone to a bowl game. We see the type teams that are getting to bowl games. There's 41 bowl games. That's 82 spots. So pretty much if you've got a pulse, you can get to a bowl game these days. And Nebraska has missed 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh, yes. So in many respects, I would not fault anyone for calling Nebraska a dumpster fire. Again, depending on the conversation and exactly what was going on. Let's see if we can find anything out online in regards to anything else with Dylan Raiola. But again, when I saw this come down, I thought, well, this has been expected, and this will lead our show, our Big Ten Live show, but nothing that was unexpected, although Alan is obviously plugged in a lot better than I am to Nebraska football. I know a few people that know a few things. I wouldn't say that they're like insiders, but they know a whole lot more than me. And of course, we got our guy, Greg Peterson, over on our Nebraska show, who has been entrenched in Nebraska football for a long time, works for Husker Online, knows a lot of people, pretty much knows anybody there. So there are things that he knows that are coming down the pike that others do not. But it was based on my conversations with certain people that once this Dylan Raiola smoke started, that the fire was coming, and here we are. All right. Jason's showing up tonight. Jason, what's going on? Hello, Jason. Hello, hello. You with us? Hopefully. Can you hear me? Unfortunately, we cannot hear you. So if something needs to be fixed on your end, please give that a shot. Give us a call back. All right. So the link is in the chat. It's probably pretty buried at this point, but the link is also in the description section of the video for the Big Ten Live show. And we've got no Big Ten bowl games this week. And I know it has just gotten to a point where, and this just sickens me when it comes to college football, like I did an Oklahoma show today with Parker Thune from Rivals and KREF Sports. Parker Thune, exceptional guy, does a great job, joins us on a regular basis on the Oklahoma show. And we went live this morning. I brought up the bowl game. And it wasn't like he was not showing me the typical reaction that just about everybody else has toward any of the bowl games, almost all of the bowl games now. That, well, does it really matter if Oklahoma wins? They'll be 11-2 if they win with an Alamo Bowl win. If they lose, they're 10-3 with an Alamo Bowl loss. They're off to the SEC. Does it matter? That is just crazy to me that we've got games that have bowl game listed on them that more people are going to watch than almost any other college football games this year. They're in that upper echelon. And they really don't matter to most people, although you're going to watch them. I watched most of the games on Saturday, and really, if that would have been a typical college football Saturday, for those of you who know our usual approach to college football Saturday, I try to really zero in on two games at noon Eastern time, really zero in on two games, instant analysis, 3:30 Eastern, two games, instant analysis, primetime games, instant analysis on two games. But I knew that nobody's watching these videos. If I give instant analysis on the Camellia Bowl and the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, nobody's going to watch these videos. So I thought, this is a bit of a waste of a day in regards to what's going on with these bowl games. Although I had them on, I was paying attention, and I enjoyed the bowl games. All right, let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. And next up, we got Peter on the line. Peter, hey, what's going on?
How's it going? This is my first time ever calling in. I'm excited to talk with you, Mark.
Well, it's good to see you. Glad you could make it through, and thanks for calling.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't quite catch the title for today's show, but I did have a couple of thoughts, obviously, that I wanted to share. So one is Michigan fans seem so obsessed with Ryan Day leaving. I've seen so many rumors being posted on social media sites. I'm an Ohio State fan myself. I actually live in Ann Arbor, so it's not been fun the last few years. However, most of my life's been pretty good. But they just seem so obsessed with him leaving, yet they're basically undefeated against him, except the one win Day got in 2019. So what do you think's behind that? I mean, is it they just want to see Ohio State's downfall, or what?
Wow. Once I answer this question, I'm curious to ask you another question because of where you live and who you root for. Well, yeah. So the logical thinking that you're taking is the same thinking that a Michigan fan would have taken when John Cooper was losing all those games to Michigan, or when Harbaugh was losing his first 5 or 6, was it whatever the number was, to Ohio State, that, yeah, we want this guy to stay here because we're beating his brains in. I just think that so you're saying that Michigan fans want Ryan
Yeah.
Day gone?
I've just seen so many rumors. It seems like the last week or since the Ohio State Michigan game
Yeah.
that are like saying he's interviewing with the NFL. He's interviewing with teams in the NFL, and they're excited about that. They're not like, oh no, we want him to stay, and so it seems a little backwards. But I was talking with my buddies about it, and it seems like they're just kind of just praying, hoping that we'll have a down period, kind of like they've had with Rich Rod and Brady Hoke in that era, and that our demise, we're showing cracks, and I don't know. It just seems strange that they want him gone, yet they're beating him, and
Yeah.
it's kind of infuriating to me because I like Ryan Day
Okay.
personally. I'm not on the
Yeah.
hate Day train that a lot of fans are on right now. I'm not on that bandwagon at all.
Well, here's a couple of theories. One would be that we drove Ryan Day out of Columbus. We got him fired. It's because of Michigan. So this is a big
Yeah.
accomplishment. So
I
that could
am
be
seeing
one.
a lot of we broke
Okay.
Ohio State
Yeah.
or we broke Day, et cetera, et cetera.
So if he gets fired, that we broke Day, we broke Ohio State,
Sure.
and we accomplished that. Look at
There
how
would
great
be
we
an
are.
accomplishment factor with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I
So
get
that
that,
would
I
be
guess.
one. The other would be just the indication of, and this is kind of connected, that it's really fallen off there. If they're firing their coach,
Sure.
then he's not the guy. It's really fallen off. They're not who they used to be,
Right.
and this is who they are now.
Uh-huh.
They're not us. They're not
Sure.
as good as us.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we do have a Michigan problem. I don't think we have a coaching problem. I don't think Ohio State has a culture problem. I just think, unfortunately, we have a younger coach who's learning and is getting better. He's getting better. I see improvement in the program. I see recruiting same as it was under Meyer. So that excites me. But so yeah, I'm not mad at Day anyway in any sense of the word. So I want him to stay, of course, and I don't think the rumors are true at all to the NFL. So
yeah, I just think that the game that they played this past
sure,
November was a different game than the other
it
two.
was. Had it been another blowout, though, I might have been on the other train,
Sure.
admittedly.
Yeah, I try to take a pretty measured, logical approach to all this. And what coach has ever gotten fired for being whatever
Right.
the winning percentage is at
That's what I'm
56.7?
saying.
56
That's what I'm
and 7.
saying.
That's you're just a tick under 90%. He's got
Yeah.
the third best record in the country during that time to Nick Saban and Ryan and
Kirby?
Kirby, of course.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't change things. That doesn't mean you don't take those losses seriously. That doesn't mean all those things. But
Sure.
every time you look to fire someone because you're mad and angry and they're
Right.
not good enough, you got to replace him.
And that's why I'm thankful we have Gene Smith. Not for much longer, but he's taken a very measured approach with Day, and a reasonable approach. He's a terrific coach, and I'm happy he's at Ohio State, and I will continue to be happy as long as 11-1, 12-0 seasons continue, of course.
And losing 3 in a row
Sure.
in this series, whether that's Michigan losing to Ohio State or vice versa, this 3 is unprecedented because Ohio State's not fallen off.
No.
They've not fallen off. They've just lost this game.
Yes, precisely. But yeah, I don't know if you had any question about why I live in Ann Arbor and how I became an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, you don't need to divulge your personal life. I was
Sure.
going to ask why you live in Ann Arbor. It was going to be Ohio State fan. So you could certainly be an Ohio State fan that's got it draped all over your house or apartment, and you're really out there, or otherwise. But what is the worst encounter you've had with anyone?
Oh, goodness gracious. I like that question. Let me think. Funnily enough, I can think of the opposite of that. The best experience I had, somebody actually gave me a shot at this year's Fox Big Noon Kickoff. I went down to the show. I didn't have tickets to the game, but living in Ann Arbor, I decided, let me get in the pregame hype and enjoy myself down there in the atmosphere. I love getting in, and of course I was wearing the colors. Someone called me over. A worse experience, though. not too many, to be honest. I grew up in high school, went to high school in Ann Arbor. A couple of derogatory words, I guess, but not one that speaks out in particular. Not one that stands out. Yeah, I guess just when I was at Michigan hockey, I'll say this. Yeah, Michigan hockey. If you've ever been to Yost Ice Arena, it was intense. It's intense, and it's more intense than football or basketball, in my opinion.
Wow.
The crowd is absolutely belligerent, nonstop to opposing fan bases. So, showing up in scarlet and gray, to me personally, and I am 6'5", so maybe that's why I haven't had bad experiences. People don't want to mess with a 6'5" guy too often, but anyway, Yost Ice Arena is probably the worst. When I was a little kid, got cussed out. So,
well, sometimes when people have had a few too many, they
Sure.
can't judge somebody else's height and they kind of lose their senses. But I gotta salute the Michigan fans. If you've lived in Michigan for that long and lived right there for that long,
Yeah,
and haven't had too many or
yeah,
really any
no,
serious incidents, I'm going to give them a lot of credit for that.
absolutely nothing that would stand out. Nothing that would say, man, I might consider leaving. So, no, it's been good. But one last thing I did want to address. Michigan Man has been on your podcast all season long, and
Yes.
he is knowledgeable. I will give him credit.
Yep.
He does know his stuff. He knows his statistics, analytics, et cetera, et cetera. But man, oh man, is he not the quintessential Michigan man, in my opinion, in terms of just the hubris he speaks with, I guess.
Yes.
And I've been wanting to call in, and I don't know why I haven't for so long, because I wanted to speak with him, to be honest. But I'll leave that for maybe when John gets on. Maybe I'll hop back on and join the show then.
Yeah,
But
that would be great.
because that always sounds like fun. But yeah, anyway, I'll just get off real quickly. Just want to say, love the show. I listen almost every Monday, and to all of your Ohio State live streams. It's super enjoyable. I try and like every post because I really enjoy your show, and I want to get you out there and get more subscribers and get more viewers and just see the progression.
That's music to my ears.
Absolutely. So
appreciate you, man.
Yep. You have a great rest of the day. Okay.
All right, Peter.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Great to hear from Peter. Listen to that. First time caller, but been watching, listening for a long time and trying to get us out there. Appreciate that. In Ann Arbor, and this isn't just like he showed up like 3 months ago, got a job, showed up. No, his whole life living in Ann Arbor as an Ohio State fan and has not encountered any serious issues. So again, it might be because he's 6'5", it also might be because Michigan fans aren't too bad. All right, I got to address this comment. This comment makes some sense. I get it. It's not like it's a stupid comment. Losing to Michigan repeatedly is falling off. Yeah, you can have that perspective. However, understand this. You got to understand the context of everything going on at the same time and what you're really saying here. So, Ohio State, when has Ohio State faced a Michigan team this good for 3 consecutive years? When has that ever happened? This good Michigan team that went 12-1, 12-1. No. 12-1, 13-0, 13-0. When has Ohio State faced that good of a Michigan team? You would have to go back to the early to mid 70s to find 3 Michigan teams back to back to back that are as good as these 3. Okay. So keep that under consideration, number one. And you couldn't even necessarily say that those teams in the early to mid 70s were better than these Michigan teams. That's just the closest you have to go back to find where there's a debate. Okay, could those Michigan teams have been as good as these teams? Now, of course, they didn't get through Ohio State. They didn't win Big Ten championships. They didn't win. There was no playoff, any of that. Okay. So you need to understand that all the Ohio State teams since then have either fallen off They've not been as good as these Ryan Day teams. Whether you're talking about the Earl Bruce era, losing 3 games a year, or most of the John Cooper era, losing 2 and 3 and 4 games a year, except for once they got it rolling in 1993, 93, 95, 96, 97, 98. Those teams were on par with these teams. Maybe on par with these teams. A lot less was expected of those teams. A lot less was expected of any team in the country because you didn't have a Big Ten championship game. You didn't have a playoff. It all came down to the Michigan game, and you're standing in the Big Ten. And then to get to a Rose Bowl and hope voters recognized you if you were undefeated or only had 1 loss, or like Ohio State could have accomplished in 1993, had 1 tie, lost to Michigan, were playing for a Rose Bowl bid and a possible shot at a national championship. 95, 96, 98, same situation. 97 to a certain extent with only 1 loss, had they beaten Michigan, gone to a Rose Bowl. But those teams, once they either lost to Michigan, most of them then in 93, 95, 96. Well, the 93 team, they lost by 4 touchdowns. So that team was not on the level of the 3 teams that we just saw lose to Michigan. Okay, let's understand that. Then we move on to 95, 96, or 95. That team lost a bowl game then. They lost 2 games. And then 96, they lost to Michigan, but rallied and won the Rose Bowl. But again, no playoff to try to show anything past that. We didn't have a situation where an Ohio State or a team that lost either a conference championship or lost a major game at the end of the year could get a second chance, go to, on a regular basis, get a second chance, go to a playoff and do what they did to show themselves worthy like they did last year against Georgia. So any Ohio State teams that have lost games to Michigan, for the most part, aside from that short little span of Cooper years between 93 and 98, those Ohio State teams weren't anywhere close to this team. Okay, on the flip side, the Ohio State teams that have dominated this series since Jim Tressel stepped on campus, when were they ever facing Michigan teams that were in this vicinity? They weren't ever. What were the best Michigan teams? Now let's be fair here. All right. So Ohio State fans are going to brag about the last 20 years in this series, and they should. They've owned it. However, have they really beaten good Michigan teams? No. The early 2000s, the Lloyd Carr teams, those were good teams. They weren't nationally competitive for national championship level teams. The 06 team, they lost by 2 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl. It was a really good team. And then, of course, from 07 and really 08 to 14 or 15, then you've got nothing. They're just beating up on Michigan. And then Harbaugh steps on campus and improves them considerably, but still they're not an elite team. There's 10-3, 9-4, 8-5, 10-3. That's what Michigan was. They're top 15. So those Ohio State teams that even at their best won a national championship in 02, won a national championship in 14. They were not running into Michigan teams that were on their level, in their category. What we're seeing these last 3 seasons, with Michigan and Ohio State being 2 of the top 3, 4, 5 teams in the country, this has not been seen since, again, at least the early to mid 70s. Don't know if I explained my point correctly, but thank you for the comment there. All right, let's try Moose again. Moose, are you there? Hello?
Mark, I'm sorry. I'm
there we
waiting
go.
on Ocho. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm waiting on the Ocho at 8.
Okay, you've got a long wait, but okay, we'll sit you back here. Thanks. All right. waiting for the 8 o'clock run. All right. John D'Adamo steps on at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And yes, you can flood the live stream and jump on with John. And I did make some posts this week. We are certainly always looking for quality hosts here at the Voice of College Football. So you can answer where we posted on our various Big Ten channels, including, didn't post here, posted on the Big Ten team channels for hosts to supplement John and everything we're doing here at the Voice of College Football to host the Big Ten live show and elsewhere. All right. I believe we've got Justin Adams stopping by. So Justin does our post game here at the Voice of College Football over on the Nebraska channel. And of course, you can join Justin and myself every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central for Huskers Live. Justin must have just shut down the live stream over on the Huskers channel and doing a little fist pumping for Dylan Raiola. Justin, what's going on tonight?
I'm still catching my breath. That was a fun little adrenaline boost there, adrenaline surge. But yeah, just came over from the live stream over on the Husker channel. So pretty good bit of people in there. So excited to talk through this. Yeah, big day. Probably the biggest one that I can remember as a Nebraska fan. I was born in 1990, so I missed all the good times. So,
Yes, you missed a good time. So maybe the good times are coming back.
That's exactly right. Right around the time I started, you brought me on, so it was good timing. So,
yes, that's right. We wanted you just to taste a little bit more of despair before then the big upsurge.
You had to give me a little bit of a, I guess, trial by fire, if we will.
Yeah.
Now we get to have some fun. And I will say this is probably the most fun day I've had in a long time as a Nebraska football fan. It has not been a lot of fun, but man, what a great day. Just, Matt Rule, what he was able to do, the relationships that he's able to build with these guys, the way he's able to continuously keep in contact with these guys. It's a testament to, those relationships, because he never stopped, contacting Dylan. He kept in touch with him the whole time. He builds genuine, authentic relationships with these guys. And I think that's evident in the fact that Nebraska is not losing a ton of people to the transfer portal and, able to get, not just anybody to flip from a school, but to get a 5-star number one, quarterback from a, 2-time defending national champion program that just can't be understated. And I know it's Nebraska. I know we got money, but nobody else has been able to do that in recent years. And we've had money, we've had these opportunities. We've been Nebraska, and Matt Rule's been the first one to do it. So I think a lot of people are starting to seeing what, what he's building over there, and kind of that's coming to fruition, and it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. And I think a lot of college football fans, I think college football fans in general, we all feel better, and college football is more fun when the blue bloods are playing well. We all say that all the time, and Nebraska is no different. And I think this makes college football a lot more fun.
So Justin, you're fired up and pumped up, even though you had to know this was coming. You have said to me, and I made this comment well before you stepped on, I was letting people know that your show was going on at the same time. And I said, Justin's been telling me for days and days and days, or maybe more than that. Mm-hmm. I'll be ready to go when this news comes down, because it's going to come down here pretty soon. So I'm ready to roll. So you were pretty confident.
Yeah, I had some indicators, and I have some people who may be able to help me out with some information. So I knew it was coming. It was just it wasn't a matter of when, it was a matter of, or if, it was a matter of when. But the thing that I think people threw people off was when McCord, decided that, it was McCord was a lock, and then Raiola was a lock at one point, and, they were kind of a lock together. And then once one of those kind of went south, then, people aren't able to separate the two situations. And everybody thought everything was going south, and all of Nebraska Twitter just kind of flew off the handle, like, oh no, here we go again. I'm not going to get my hopes up and all this other stuff. But what they had to understand is McCord's situation it's a whole different animal. McCord's situation was already happening and the wheels were turning on that process before the Raiola news even was announced that he was potentially looking back at Nebraska. McCord was on campus the day that it was announced that Raiola was going to be, doing his official this weekend. And when the news came that he was going to potentially flip, that all happened while McCord was on campus. So the fact that McCord kind of backed away didn't really, it didn't surprise me all that much. And I guess it didn't really indicate anything that Raiola was, if anything for me, that was more confidence that Raiola was going to be in the boat, because I knew right there that indicated to me that Kyle McCord probably didn't want to come because Raiola was in.
Yeah.
So
I was going to lay that out for you and see if you agreed with that. Exactly. So Kyle McCord, we see now going to Syracuse. I got to think that based on their level of play, their quarterback situation, that they're pretty much saying, Kyle McCord is such an upgrade for them that he's got a job at Syracuse, versus probably thinking, even though the Dylan Raiola news was out there, that, okay, well, yeah, he's a stud and he's the future, but I'm going to jump in for 1 year, play in front of him. Everything's going to be good. And maybe he didn't get the answers he wanted from Matt Rule to basically say, yeah, Dylan Raiola, hey, great kid. He's going to come in, learn under you. We're going to prep him for a year. You've got the job. Then we're going to keep going. Maybe Matt Rule was like, may the best man win. You're going to have to win this job.
Yep.
That didn't fly with Kyle McCord.
No, or is that from what I'm hearing, it was from what I'm hearing. I don't know how it's all, none of it's confirmed, all of it's speculation. With the whole Kyle McCord being afraid of competition, I've heard it was more so just like his dad, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard this about his dad coming in. His dad is just kind of the shot caller for him, right? And there was a rumor that Matt Rule actually told them no because of that, because of, it might have been, because not only Kyle McCord's dad is like that, but you got to understand, Dominic and Donovan Raiola are big players in Husker football right now. And that's the dad and the uncle of the 5-star QB that's also going to be coming over. So if there's too many, egos and too many of people calling the shots, I can see where this can devolve and we get nobody. So I don't know if it was one of those situations potentially where Matt Rule was just kind of like, listen, I think it's in our best interest to just move on from this. And I think it was in the best interest of both parties to just move on from it. And like I said, there was a few rumors and everybody was kind of linking everything together. Raiola was linked to McCord. Fleming was linked to McCord. I think everybody is each their own individual situation right now. It's NIL. It's none of these guys are linked in any way. It's just a matter of who gives them the best opportunity for their future, who gives them best opportunity to win, and who gives them the most money. And right now, you can't look at any one thing and be like, outside of like Carson Beck, right? Carson Beck coming back to Georgia indicated that Raiola is probably going to be in at Nebraska. But outside of stuff like that, just trying to link McCord to Raiola and all this other stuff, it was just kind of everybody's head was kind of spinning, and it was just a matter of, like I said, it was just a matter of time. It was pretty much a guarantee that Raiola was coming over, and made it official. And so, Husker Nation breathing a sigh of relief, and now we kind of get to see what Matt Rule has in store, what his vision actually is going to look like in the coming years.
Hey, Jackson, we appreciate you posting Justin's Twitter handle and his Instagram handle. So, folks, you can follow Justin on Instagram and also on Twitter /X. And Jackson, thank you so much for posting that. Yeah, I was asked a few minutes ago about the significance of this signing, and I'm not going to say anything unique here. You may have a different spin on it because you're, again, closer to the situation and what's happened in Nebraska and what it's been like. I see it from afar. I watch the games. I know the stats and all that business, but actually knowing what the vibe is within the fan base, I get my dose of that on Tuesday nights. But besides that, I'm not ingrained in it. But naturally, okay, number one, if there was no other impact, then you get what is potentially one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Obviously, he has to fulfill it. He has to be developed. But if he lives up to his, not even a crazy potential, if he just lives up to, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten potential. Then you've just acquired one of the best players in the conference at his position. Okay, even if it has no other impact, but we know more than that. We know that. See, you just made the statement, and I completely agree that with NIL and with players just looking out for their own futures and building their own relationship with the coaches, having their own NFL prospects, and kind of figuring out where's my best path, that these decisions are individual decisions. But there is a mentality of, if all things are equal, let's go play with really good players. These guys know each other. Social media has connected everybody, and it's especially connected really good athletes that they talk all the time. They know each other, and they want to play together, and they want to, if things can work out, play together. So he's going to bring players with him that he knows. He's also going to bring players that he doesn't know, because they're going to see, hey, he made that decision. And then if the winning comes soon, then that's going to be proof positive of the process. And it just can have a ripple effect that keeps going.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of like you said, it's the age of social media, right? It's about clicks. It's about, with NIL is essentially, you monetize yourself via social media. So, you have a program like Nebraska, and, you see what, the announcement of a guy like Raiola does, and how that, impacts the college football world, just him going to Nebraska and stuff like that. And you're like, I want to be a part of that. It's a snowball effect. And it's not, I'm not trying to say that like, Nebraska is this premier destination by any stretch. No. But what I am saying is now, coming off of last season, looking at that offense, one of my biggest fears was, how the heck are we going to recruit skill players? Because that's something you got to think about. These guys, you're not just able to be like, oh yeah, we're Nebraska, we're gonna, I'm Matt Rule, it's my second year, we'll get it right. No, like these guys want to see, this is an instant gratification world. The NIL world is like, what have you done for me lately, right? What can you do for me now? And essentially, what last year did was it made it to where it would have been nearly impossible to lure a lot of these guys over by just what we had put on the field. That's why it was so important that Nebraska land such a big time, name or something to get some momentum on that offensive side of the ball going on the recruiting side, not just for 24, because our 2024 class was pretty much full, but 25 and 26 now. And we've already kind of seen it, Matt Rule last week. And this was another indicator that, to me, the tea leaves were kind of everywhere that Raiola was in. But another indicator was the fact that we offered 4 players from Buford, Georgia. 4 of his teammates were offered last week. One from the 24 class, 2 from the 25, 1 from the 26. And, so like you said, guys that they do and don't know. So that's all of that stuff right there. And then players seeing him come over, they're going to be like, I want to play for this. It's going to be a snowball. He's got 4 years to play. We don't know if he's going to play all 4 of them, but now receivers coming over be like, okay, well, I want to be a part of this offense. I want to go be the one weapon or the weapon for this guy. And all of a sudden you start to get competition to come over to Nebraska, and then Nebraska starts to have their pick, And so it's like you said, it's this trickle effect. It's a snowball, and everything's starting to snowball now. Whereas this offense before, it was dire straits trying to figure out what this offense was going to look like next year, or how we're going to patchwork this together to even compete, because we're in, year 2 under Rule. This is where the big jump needs to be taken. And Nebraska is no longer in a position where we can rely on our history. We need to do it now. We need, with the Big Ten changing, bringing on these new teams and stuff like that, Nebraska can't get lost in the shuffle of the second, third tier of teams. They had to do something big. And there's none bigger than this. And yeah, I'm really curious to see in the coming days what this looks like as far as it goes for future moves and what they're going to do. You know, we've already seen that visiting with Raiola this weekend. We had Dylan Williams, who was a commit to Oregon, 4-star, visited as well, and Vincent Shavers committed to Miami. He's been getting crystal balls all day. He's a Miami commit currently, but looking to flip. So, and then Larry Tarver, Maryland commit, is also looking to flip as well. So we're already starting to see with some of these surprise guys that we had on campus.
Alan, who joins us on a regular basis there in the chat on Tuesday nights for the Nebraska show, he called in right away. He said that Casey Thompson is rehabbing in Lincoln right now. Do you know anything about that?
So I did see him on Gabe Irvin's Instagram story last week, and there was, speculation just off of that alone that like, hey, is Casey Thompson come back? This was right around the time the Kyle McCord news, like literally right after the McCord news that he wasn't coming happened. Like soon after that is when we started seeing the Casey Thompson posting, and so, Twitter doing what it does, people started running with it. I haven't seen a ton of indications that, outside of some speculation that he may be coming. I did see a Instagram story that he shared with quote unquote close friends. So on Instagram, there's a setting to where it doesn't go public to everybody, but if you select your close friends, they can see it. There was a screenshot that was posted that was potentially like him saying, run it back or whatever. But without me being able to see it myself, it's hard for me to know if that was legitimate or not. I don't necessarily know if Casey Thompson comes back. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know. Nor do I see if I don't know if it makes sense. Again, yeah. I would love to see Trey Palmer, but I think that's a lot of wishful thinking by Husker Nation. Just because I don't know the way that whole saga ended with him was kind of weird in a way. It was almost like he got shunned to the side. Now all of a sudden Nebraska fans are like, no, Casey, come back. Like, so the whole situation to me is weird how that's kind of played out. And I don't know how that would be him coming back here after that.
And I would view him as being a similar level quarterback as Kyle McCord, that if they play their cards right, they're going to be earning a paycheck in the NFL. They
Correct.
might be third team for 5 years and just collect nice checks. And then that moves them on to whatever they want to do next, coach or whatever. But they got to they got to navigate the right situations to get there. They can be a really nice piece for a decent team, but they can't just show up anywhere and be like, I'm the guy. Exactly. I showed up, I'm going to get the job. So he's got to look for the best way. And I would think that if McCord was thrown off by the Dylan Raiola competition, then I don't know. I'm not judging their competitiveness, but right. He's in that same tier of quarterback as a Kyle McCord. I would put him generally in that same tier that, it may not be the best situation for him to showcase himself to try to get an NFL look.
Yeah. Nor do I think he gives us the best chance to win. I mean, honestly, like looking back at the season we had with Casey Thompson, if you go back and look at that, he had a little over 2,000 passing yards that season, but I mean, 1,200 of those or over 1,000 of those yards were to Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer, again, was the LSU speedster transfer. He was just a big deep ball threat for us that year, and Casey Thompson just relied on him a ton. And so that was one of the things that I told people to kind of just pay attention to with Nebraska's drop off from last year. This year was the fact that like, hey, that offense didn't have Trey Palmer. And to me, more important to that offense than Casey Thompson was Trey Palmer. I think Trey Palmer had a lot to do with Casey Thompson's success as opposed to the other way around. So I still think that like our best case, if it was Casey Thompson coming in here, that doesn't do a lot, doesn't move the needle a ton for me outside of depth. And I don't think Casey Thompson would come in to be a depth guy. Like you said, I think he's going to want to come in and give himself the best opportunity for his future. And, who knows if he can maybe go, play in the league or whatever, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And this isn't me predicting that it's not going to happen, but I just don't think makes a lot of sense for anybody in the equation, to be honest. Daniel Kalen, of course, he was committed. Once McCord was going to come, or was indicated that McCord was going to come over, he had flirted with Michigan State, canceled that. Kalen's back. So yeah, it's not like we lost Kalen, so we need another quarterback to come in. So right now, I'm just going to leave that as speculation. But yeah, Casey Thompson, I think Dylan Raiola gives us a better chance than Casey Thompson does to win.
Justin, I don't know if we had these conversations because it was before you fully jumped on board, but when I went to Big Ten Media Days, and maybe I look at it a little differently than not everyone, but most people, in that, I've been in the TV industry for, before I did this, for 30 years. And so I'm not just sitting there watching these coaches wanting football information. I'm kind of perceiving, again, I'm not the only one, but perceiving how they display themselves, how they present themselves. And this is tough to do because most coaches, they know how to communicate it. They didn't rise to the level that they did to be coaching a major program in a Power 5 conference by being knuckleheads, but there are better communicators than others. And there are the guys that are a little too much shine, a little bit too much buttoned up, a little bit too much that they come across well. They say all the buzzwords and it sounds good, but really you didn't give me much. And I really can't know if you're authentic and if you really believe that. And then there are the guys that are just not really good in front of a mic and not great communicators. With Matt Rule, I got to tell you, I was blown away with his ability to like really communicate and be polished, but also be real and just to tell you real stories. And man, he was the one guy there that went out of his way to not just answer the question, okay, you asked me about this player, or asked me how we're going to approach, our 3-3-5 defense. He would he'd dive into these stories and, these conversations he had with other coaches and why, how he built this relationship with this player and what, and it was really impressive. And I could see how he could win a player over.
Yeah. And, we saw, and we've talked about it on our live streams before about, those little, those things that were posted, his pre-game speeches and stuff like that. Like Matt Rule's the type of guy that will make you want to run through a brick wall for him for sure. And like you said, like, I think he has a very much, that preacher style. Cause he's very much, how preachers talk, they have that way about them where they're able to draw in a room and they pause, in the middle of sentences and they're able to really just draw the attention of people in. And, he does that in just his everyday press conferences. So, I know that, kind of when he's sitting down with these guys and these parents and these kids and stuff like that, like these parents have to be looking at a guy like Matt Rule and like you said, hear how good of a communicator he is, how well spoken he is, and stuff like that. And especially in today's age of NIL, where we're hearing a lot of stories of guys like not getting promises, the promises not being made to them that they were promised when they, signed the dotted line there, et cetera. I heard him talking about it on the Pat McAfee show, where he's very much like a contract in hand type of guy. He's, dot the I's, cross the T's. And so I think what he does, to your point, is he just gives a very, very open, transparent, and honest take of what Nebraska is, what he's bringing to Nebraska, and what he thinks that, their kid or that player can bring to us, and what he sees as that player's future. And again, I think it's just indicated by the fact that, up until probably the beginning of last week, Nebraska had 4 players in the transfer portal. That was it. That was like 4 players, and they were 4 people who didn't see the field. And that, to me, right there was just proof that these guys were bought in, and he just has such a great relationship built with these guys. And again, we see the fruits of his labor pay off in this Raiola situation.
All right, folks, Justin delivers for us on our Nebraska channel. Please check out the live stream. If you were here with us, Justin was meanwhile knocking it out with the Dylan Raiola flip. So jump on over there to the Nebraska channel. Check out Justin's work in regards to tonight's live stream. That was a good time. And then also, of course, Justin joins us each and every Tuesday, the Voice of College Football, over on the Huskers channel, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and has a lot of good things in store that we will be announcing soon. Cheesy Corn Sports, that's a place you can join Justin as well. Tell people about Cheesy Corn Sports and what's going on over there.
Absolutely. So Cheesy Corn Sports is it's a fantasy football podcast. Me and my buddy Martin Cheney. We are fantasy football nerds. So we 2 hours before the games every Sunday, we are getting you ready for the fantasy slate and helping you win your weeks. And then as the fantasy playoffs wind down here in the next couple of weeks, we'll be giving off-season content and getting y'all ready for the next year's fantasy news and stuff like that. So if y'all are interested in that, join us over there.
Very cool. Justin, I really appreciate you popping on here, giving us some more insight into the flip.
Appreciate you having me on, Mark. Appreciate it.
Again, Justin Adams over on our Nebraska channel does the post-game show for the Huskers. And this may be one of the last negative things I have to say about Justin's situation on our Nebraska channel. He could not do a post-game show for the bowl game because, again, no bowl game for the Huskers, but maybe that's in their rearview mirror now. But we appreciate Justin stopping by, and we appreciate all that he does on our Huskers channel. We're about to take another call. Before I do, I will let everyone know that the Amazon link's in the description section of all the videos. Please grab it, put it somewhere where you will remember it. And therefore, again, Amazon link doesn't cost you a penny. So no additional charge, nothing like that. Same price. And then some of that you're sending all to Amazon right now. So whatever you buy at Amazon, I don't care if it costs 57 cents or if it costs $5,000, whatever you're sending to Amazon currently is all going to Amazon. If you use the link that we provide, we get a little cut, 2%, 3%, depends on the item. So please use the Amazon link in the description section, and it doesn't change your shopping experience, does not affect it, impact it in any such way. All right, let's keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football. We've got another call coming in. We've got Elias on the line.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for your patience. Appreciate that.
No worries. This is not going to be a Big Ten question, but it only takes 60 seconds to a minute at a time. It's about coaching, how bad it's gotten. And I was watching the Western Kentucky game today with Old Dominion, and they have one timeout. Western Kentucky down 7. Old Dominion has 2 timeouts. They take a sack on 3rd down with around 22 seconds left. Now, if Western Kentucky, I think, was smart, they would have let that clock tick down because it was 4th down play to about a couple of seconds and then gone for a 4th down because they went for it, 18 seconds left on the clock, got a touchdown, and then they gave Old Dominion seconds with 2 timeouts to potentially go down and kick a field goal. I don't understand. And then the last thing is in the Alabama game, chance, I don't remember the clock exactly, but a chance to take 2 knees against Georgia, and then they ran it on 2nd down because Georgia only had 1 timeout. So Alabama ran it. They could have taken a minute 20 and just ice the game because I'm a big Miami fan. So this stuff just haunts me, right? Not taking knees when you should. So I can't believe how bad college football coaching has gotten. And that just set off a thing today when I was watching that Western Kentucky game.
I did not see the end of the bowl game today. I jumped on here right before that, so I did not see that. The Alabama-Georgia game, I remember that sequence and thinking the same thing. I would not be able to repeat it as well as you just did because I don't remember it that well, but I was thinking the same thing. And Alabama almost made, well, they actually did make the same tactical error. It just didn't burn them at the end of the game against Texas A&M. They could have run out the clock. They threw a pass inexplicably with a 6-point lead running out the clock. And when they could have just run out the clock without needing to gain another 1st down. So,
and I don't know if it was actually on that play. I think Milroe even fumbled it and recovered his own fumble. I don't know if that was the 2nd down play either. I think it was. So I mean, they dodged a lot of bullets in the end of that game there.
Yeah, you're talking about the A&M game.
No, the SEC championship
Georgia
game against
game.
Georgia.
Okay.
He fumbled it and recovered his own fumble. But yeah, that one too, where he should have fumbled it in the A&M game. Just a lot of sloppy coaching, and I don't get it. They're making $10 million and something that me and you can figure out.
Yeah, you're making $10 million, and I get it that not everybody's great at everything. So take any high level person that runs, let's say, a Fortune 500 company, and maybe they're great at 8 of the 10 things that are required from for their position, but they recognize that 2 of the 10 things that they're not great at, they are able to hire people to help them. With all the money that's going down the drain at these schools through the football program, you would think that they would recognize that and hire somebody to help them.
Yeah, because I think that's what the Ravens did with Harbaugh. They hired some
Yes.
Harvard analytical guy that just decided all the fourth down plays. Yeah.
Well, that's a little different. It's related. There's no question it's related, but in terms of making a judgment call where the analytics say do this,
Yeah.
but then you can also take into consideration that the analytics don't know how good your offense is, how good the quarterback is, how good your offensive line is, how good the defense is, what the vibe of the game is, what's the the direction of the game, the momentum, those sorts of things, but
Yeah.
we'll just spit out the answer. Whereas the things that you just brought up, those 2 instances are just straight math.
Yep.
That regardless of who your team is, who their team is, just the clock and the downs and the time management, the timeouts and everything dictate that if you do the right things, you will win the game. You cannot lose. Yep.
Just the last thing, just a little nuance things like today, just let it come down a couple seconds, take a timeout. If defensive penalty, it's an untimed down anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. Just don't give them a chance to break off a run or something stupid, and then you end up losing for no reason.
Yeah. So if I'm getting that straight, they just decided to kick a field goal with 18 seconds left?
No. They were down by 7. There was 22 or 3 seconds left.
Yeah.
3rd down and goal from the 6. He took a sack, so it's now 4th and goal from like the 13 or 14. And instead of letting the clock go down to a couple of seconds and using their final timeout, Western Kentucky, to just throw a last play, they called a quick timeout, ended up getting a touchdown on 4th and goal, but then gave Old Dominion 20 seconds left and 2 timeouts in a tie game. They should have just let it go down to a couple seconds and then gone for that final play.
Yeah, they only had one more play anyway. Yeah,
exactly. So it didn't make any sense to me.
Yep, these things have been presented to us ever since, and I'm sure way before that. The one that I'm going to cite, but the most famous initial one was the Giants Eagles one with Joe Pisarcik not kneeling and pivoting and fumbling the ball when he's trying to do a fake handoff when there's no reason to do any of that mess. And Herm Edwards picking the ball up and running for a touchdown to send the Eagles to the playoffs, 1978.
Play to win the game, Mark.
Yes, that's right.
I lied, actually. This is the last thing before I let you go. Sorry.
Sure.
I think it's hard sometimes to explain the chat, but I think it'd be cool if you did like a viewing party, not necessarily on your YouTube channel, but like in person. Like for New Year's Day or some big bowl games or big championship games, like conference games, stuff like that. I think that's something that if you coordinate, it would be cool to do.
So where would I go where it would be centrally located enough to get enough people there? That's a great idea. I love it. I just don't know.
Because you're not too far from New York, are you? I mean, not the greatest place in the world. I know that, but you could do it in New York or even back in Ohio where you're from, whatever. It's not far for some people. I guess diehard football fans that are watching you, I think, would make the trek.
Interesting. Well, we can
do a
keep
poll
that
on
under
Twitter or
consideration.
something, yeah.
Obviously, most of what I'm doing here is about streaming or producing content that's going to produce income and obviously also reach as many people as possible rather than just hanging out with like the 2 people that would show up to hang out with me.
3, Mark. Come on, don't cut yourself
3.
short.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to counter with at least 7.
Yeah.
But,
no, I don't want to be too complimentary. But anyways, thanks for all you do, Mark. Merry Christmas. God bless you and your family, and look forward to watching more of your content and the Miami Hurricane show on Wednesday.
Thanks for the call, Elias. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family as well.
Thank you. See ya.
We are getting to that point, aren't we? Let's see. We are just 1 week away from Christmas. 1 week away from Christmas, so I might as well make this announcement. So Merry Christmas to everyone. Some of you just don't watch every day, and I get it. You've got other interests, other things going on. Wink, wink. You should be watching us every day, of course. But so if we don't get a chance to say hi, to see you, to hear from you in the meantime, Merry Christmas to you and yours. And I will let you know this programming note. So my Christmas this year is really going to start on December 26th. So my family's coming to town on December 26th. So December 25th, which is next Monday, I'm going to be right here. I don't know how many of you are going to show up, but after you've been blessed by Santa earlier in the day, or you've knocked yourself out by drinking way too much eggnog and spiked eggnog and whatever you do, hey, it's going to be 6 o'clock Eastern time on a Christmas day. So we're going to fire up the Big Ten Live show. So I'm going to be right here on Christmas Day, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So programming note, we are not changing anything on Christmas Day. Now, the rest of the week, we will let you know about that. First, I'm going to take this call from the real MVP. Hello, sir.
Hey, Mark, how you doing this evening?
I am doing great. How are you?
Well, I suffered a terrible pick. Old Dominion let me down horrifically. Up 28 points. Completely blew it against Western Kentucky. I would fire the head coach immediately. You can't blow a 28-point game in college football, Mark. Terrible, pathetic.
Yeah, I got to tell you that earlier in the day, I thought, okay, this is a good thing. This is cool. Get to watch a bowl game today. And then I was doing some work, and then a friend contacted me, and I went and met a friend, and I didn't even realize, oh, yeah, that bowl game was on until I got home, and I was preparing for this, and I flipped it on with like 3 minutes left in the game. So it was a 1-touchdown game, and I didn't see the rest of it. So I have no idea how it played out other than what I've been told. So, and I also have to apologize to everybody out there because I made all my predictions for Saturday's games and was going to then make another post to take care of this week's games. And I completely forgot that there was a bowl game today. So I have missed one pick. I have no idea who I would have picked. I am pretty much just throwing darts until some teams start playing that I know about.
Yeah, that's basically what I was doing. Now, ESPN, when you make picks, it'll show you the money line odds. And I saw Old Dominion was like negative 200, and I thought, oh, Old Dominion's 6-6, Western Kentucky 7-5, Western Kentucky, I guess, plays in worst conference USA versus Sun Belt. I'm going to go with Old Dominion. And Mark, Old Dominion had about as great as a start as any team could possibly have. Okay, they scored 21 points. Western Kentucky couldn't get a first down.
Oh, did I lose you? What happened here? What did I do? Did I hit something? Hello, DeReal?
Hey, Mark.
What in the world just happened? I did something here. I was pulling up a tab on something else, and I don't know why I lost you.
I have no idea. I can't.
Okay.
You know how technology works, Mark.
I think that was me, but I don't know what I did because there was no indication to me just opening a tab. I do that all the time. So anyway, my apologies. So for the last like 15 seconds, I didn't hear what you were saying. I don't know if anybody else did.
Well, Western Kentucky had a terrible start. Their quarterback, a freshman quarterback who only completed 8 passes into that game, okay? Had a horrible start, fumbled the ball, threw a pick 6, and then after that, he turned into Tom Brady. I mean, he was unbelievable after that. I think he threw for 5 touchdown passes or something like that, 4 or 5 of them. He was unbelievable. Old Dominion couldn't cover anybody, Mark. I was just sitting there like, cover him. 4th and goal, Mark. I heard a previous caller talk about it. I don't care about the timeout. How about Old Dominion? How about you cover a guy on 4th and goal at the goal line, Mark? You think that'd be a good idea, right?
Yeah, 4th and goal. Let's show a little urgency. Absolutely.
Well, Old Dominion decided not to cover anybody and just let a guy wide open. I mean, he was wide open, Mark. You could have made that catch. I could have made that catch. Nobody was within 10 yards of him. It was, oh my goodness, it was unbelievable.
Well, I will tell you this, and I've got no proof of this, but even at my advanced age, I can catch a football. Like, I will catch the ball 98 or 99% of the time. So if I'm wide open, I'm catching that football as well. That's what irks me about wide open drops. So I'm trying to get myself familiar with this guy you're talking about that turned into Tom Brady. That would be one Caden Veltkamp, 40 for 52 for 383 and 5 touchdowns.
Pretty good day at the office, Mark. Pretty good day at the office.
Day. Well, I always knew that, of course, Western Kentucky likes to sling it around. And so he's the latest, huh? All right. I'm going to have to check out the highlights of this game because another crazy group of 5 bowl game.
Right. Now I'm going to talk about the Big Ten, okay? So I've been arguing with Hummus Hero. He believes the reason Ohio State lost to Georgia last year was because Disney owns the SEC and therefore owns the replay booth. So therefore they were going to give the call to Georgia because of the ownership connections. What do you think about that, Mark? I think it's just a giant excuse, but I don't know. What do you think?
I got to tell you, the first thing that I thought of when you said Hummus Hero was that I hate when I'm in the position for as many times as I cut people down here when it's warranted, that when I have to go against a faithful viewer or listener. But that's ridiculous. Now, now I'm going to go a little shy of that. I'm going to say that that's most likely ridiculous. I do believe that there are some conspiracy theories out there that are true and do come to pass. However, that was not an egregious call one way or the other, in my estimation. Trying to be as unbiased as possible. Did I want Ohio State to benefit from that call? Absolutely. Shoot, when Ohio State gave up that second touchdown, the J.J. McCarthy pass that went right over, forget who it was, his helmet, that threw the ridiculous that Denzel Burke stripped at the goal line. Did I think that was a Michigan touchdown? Absolutely, I did. And absolutely, did I want the call to be reversed and Joel Klatt to be correct and them to take that touchdown off the board and give the ball to Ohio State? Absolutely, I did. I thought, and then I can talk later about Michigan getting ripped off and say Ohio State won the game. They would have won the game anyway. Whatever. In this situation, had the officials made the call as they did on the field, it got reviewed. Had it stood, I think that would have been a reputable call. I also thought it was a reputable call the way it was so close. It was so close. And he dropped the ball before he got hit anyway. Now, they would have had a 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. Sure.
Right, but we can't, in my opinion, we can't go back and say if that one call has changed, therefore the whole game would go exactly the same way and Ohio State would win. The game obviously would have played out differently. And if I remember correctly, Mark, in the 4th quarter of that game, Ohio State was up 2 touchdowns, right?
Oh, they were up by 2 touchdowns, yes.
And they still lost the game?
That would have put them up by 3 scores. That would have been really tough to overcome.
I get it, but we can't say never is never, Mark. And Georgia had an elite team in 2021. I hear Georgia's 2021 defense is one of the greatest defenses of all time, from what everybody seems like. So
41-24.
They could have come back. I have confidence Georgia could have come back. Yeah, I mean, it's unlikely.
They could have, but that
we can't say for sure it would have been over.
No. It would not have been over. No. I would not say that. However, what makes me feel okay about the way things turned out in that call and me not really thinking, and you've heard me enough on here and other people that I've never brought that call up. Have we talked about it? Sure. Other people have brought it up and I've talked about it just like I have here. But I thought in no way did Ohio State get ripped off. Again, Could they have been given that call? Yes, they could have been legitimately given that call. It was such a bang, bang close call, and it was so close to being whether legit, shoulder, neck area. It was so close that I come to the conclusion that the ball was dropped before the hit was made. The hit did not cause him to drop the ball. So that would have caused me to be a little bit more skeptical or a little bit more adamant about, okay, well, if he wasn't illegally hit that caused him to drop the ball, then that's what you would have had. But yeah, Ohio State lost that game fair and square. They just lost it very close. And if you're an Ohio State fan, that's going to be an excruciating loss for the rest of your life because they were playing the best team in the country and they generally outplayed them, but they fair and square lost the game, just like against Michigan last month. Close game.
Well,
they lost. They should have lost, but they could have won. And if they had a quarterback who made better decisions, they probably would have won, but they didn't. So they lost, but they lost fair and square. So.
Right. It happens, Mark. You can't win every single game.
Yeah,
and I would argue it should be unrealistic for any fan base outside of Alabama to expect to win every single game every single year.
You think it's realistic for Alabama to think that and nobody else?
Right.
Why?
Because Alabama for 15 years has won at least a championship every 3 years, and no other fan base is really even close to that level of consistency.
True.
Of winning it that consistently. Even Ohio State,
True.
The last time they won it was in 2014.
Yeah.
So every team's goal outside of Bama, in my opinion, should be just to win the national championship.
Although, well, you're in a sense getting your facts and your goals, in my estimation, and you can clarify this, kind of juxtaposed. Because Ohio State actually has a record that's extremely close to Alabama's in the last, whether it's the playoff era or even before that, but obviously have not won anywhere close to the number of national championships. So if anything, if Alabama should have the goal or could have a realistic goal of winning every game, then why wouldn't Ohio State? The difference between Alabama and Ohio State in the last 10 years or in the Saban era has been more about Alabama in the postseason than week to week.
I guess from that standpoint, it makes sense, but I guess that makes sense the way you're phrasing it. I guess I'm giving Alabama a little bit too much credit because they're just Alabama, so I always give them the benefit of the doubt. And no offense to you, Mark, but you're an Ohio State fan, and they just haven't won those big games as much of recently, so I kind of just expect a little less of them.
They have not. Oh, and that's completely understandable, and it's justified that I'm not in any way embarrassed at Ohio State's play. They've played a couple bad games, but mostly they've either won or been very competitive and proven that they at least belong. They haven't shown up like we could name a bunch of different teams. Maybe one of them starts with the letter M, or we could name maybe some other teams that have shown up on the national stage and been embarrassed. So they haven't generally, of course, somebody's going to throw out, they lost to Clemson 31-zip. I get it. I'm talking about most of the time, but they've not won. Except for a few times. And Alabama has. And I think Alabama's been given a lot of opportunities that maybe they didn't totally earn, but they took advantage of those opportunities to show that they were the best team.
Completely agree with you. And that's why I still can't believe Alabama isn't favored in this game. Alabama has earned the benefit of the doubt in every game they play. Literally every game.
Yeah.
As long as they're a college team, in my opinion, going forward, I'm never going to pick against them again. I've been wrong about Bama. They've torched me. They're just too good, Mark. They've got the best coach. They've got everybody is just so much better on Alabama's team than who they're going to be playing against in this postseason game from a talent perspective. They should be favored. It doesn't have to mean they're 25-point favorites, but they should at least be slight favorites, especially against a team coming up here that has been proven to completely have the wheels fall off in postseason play.
Yeah, there is only one team, and it's not Ohio State. Ohio State over the long haul has played the closest to Alabama. But in the short term, there's only one team that you can make an argument. Okay, when these two teams play, we need to really think about who should be favored, who's going to win the game. And that's, of course, Georgia. Georgia, pretty much since 2017, and more so just these last 3 seasons, has obviously been Alabama's match and even succeeded them 2 years. Clemson was able to attain that kind of status 2015 to roughly 20, where, okay, they showed up in 4 playoff/championship games against Bama, and they split with them. So for a short period of time, a window of time, 4 or 5 years, Clemson was up to that task to be at least considered to reach the Alabama level. And Georgia, I think, is there now. And again, Ohio State, their situation's been a little bit different because they've been more consistently under Alabama this entire Nick Saban time, is basically what they've been. For as many times as I like to debate about things, and you've caught on to this, I'm sure, because when you come on with SEC rhetoric, I generally agree with you, but I try to find places where I can push back, even if I don't totally agree, just to get a response and to show maybe there's a different argument here. And people may be catching on to that I take the other side many times just to have a discussion. But there is no discussion, just like there is no discussion over the best conference in America the last 15 years, or any time frame you want to cut it down within 15 years. There's no discussion. I wish there was, but there's not a debate over the best football program in the country the last 15 years.
Absolutely agree with you. And I understand Michigan. One of their arguments I've seen the most, Mark, recently, since they can't argue the talent gap, they can't argue the results of the last few years. They say we're great at player development. Now, I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if that means Alabama doesn't develop their players and Michigan does develop their players. But Mark, can you out-develop Alabama? When's the last time a developmental team with not a lot of talent or a subpar talent has beaten and won a national championship?
Well, unfortunately, in this situation, Michigan is not playing like the Tom Herman era Texas teams, or fill in the blank, the Clay Helton USC teams that acquired national level talent, but they just didn't do a good job of coaching or developing them. And then you can take advantage of possibly playing a more talented team, but you just have a better program, you develop better, you coach better, and you can outcoach them. No, you're running into the perfect machine where they recruit the best, and then they also develop the best. Now, Michigan fans, listen, because they're probably thinking I'm just piling on, but I'm going to make one statement here that is going to go in the Michigan column as an argument on the Michigan side. This is it. We have to look at this a little bit differently now because of the transfer portal. That before, your entire roster was comprised of high school football recruiting and the occasional transfer that usually wasn't a big deal. Sometimes it was Russell Wilson, for example. But most of the time, it's just high school recruiting. And I'll play this the Ohio State Michigan comparison, that Ohio State still recruits better players and has more talent, but I don't know how to evaluate these two rosters completely top to bottom. I'd have to really comb through it because Michigan has done a much better job in the transfer portal than Ohio State, and Michigan has done better than most teams in the country. And Alabama, kind of like Ohio State, they've been more selective to just point out, okay, we want him, and not just these massive overhauls of, we're going to bring in 12 or 15 players like Michigan has. But that has upgraded Michigan's productivity considerably. The last few years has been the transfer portal.
Yeah, I get that, Mark, but I still think there's just a bottom line baseline of talent you need in order to win a national championship. And I don't think Michigan has it. I mean, when you have less 5-stars in your recruiting class than South Carolina, that's not a good sign, Mark. I mean, Michigan currently, I'm not sure if you caught up with their newest rankings in 2024, but they're currently the 19th overall team in the country with the transfer portal. I mean, that's just not good enough, Mark. I'm sorry. That's just not going to be good enough going forward.
Spit that number out again.
They're the 19th best team overall recruiting, and overall with transfers in recruiting.
Really?
Yeah, 19th.
Alabama's one.
Georgia's one.
Georgia's one. Alabama's two.
Ohio State's two. I think Alabama's four, actually.
Are you talking about are you talking about the recruiting class? Or you're talking about the total team composite, correct?
No. So if you go to 2024, instead of hitting recruiting, there's overall and transfer. Hit the overall button because that includes the transfers as well.
Yeah. But
so Alabama hasn't gotten any transfers because they're still in season.
Yeah, these guys aren't playing. We're not talking about matching up the two teams that we're going to see on New Year's Day. Yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying going forward in the next year, for any reason they think they can do as good as next year as they have this year, I doubt that's going to be the case. But this year, Alabama is 2 and Michigan's 14 in terms of team talent.
Yes.
And I mean, the 14th best team hasn't won it. The worst team in the college football playoff era that's won it's number 9. One of those Clemson teams, either with Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence, and then every other team was 6 and beyond. And J.J. McCarthy may be an elite quarterback, but I don't think he's Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence, Mark.
No, he's not. And I believe it was the Deshaun Watson team that elevated from 9 because of him. And I think that Trevor Lawrence, I actually think that the two Clemson national championship teams were the lowest ranked talent composite teams that won the national championship.
Right. I completely agree with you. And if you look and you do it, I was wondering if you could do this. You just compile the regular season and you take over to the team it's a composite score. How many games do you think would match up to where the winner had the more talent? Because in my opinion, it would be like over 90%.
If people would watch those videos, if I started a series and people were going to watch those videos, then I would do them. I would love to do that. I would love to go through the 2023 season and match up all the games. Would love to do that.
Right. So the final thing I'll say, Mark, is because I listened to Michigan fans, I had their score ridiculously. I had Alabama scoring a lot of points on them. I came back to earth. So Michigan's been telling me they're going to score a few points, Mark. So I've decided to adjust my final score once again to appease the Michigan fans. Do you want to hear my new final score?
Absolutely, I do.
27-2, Alabama wins.
27-2.
Yeah,
right.
Jalen Milroe and Alabama have had snapping issues with their center quarterback exchange. It showed up in the Auburn game, almost cost them the Auburn game. So I think a snap could go over Jalen Milroe's head and they kick it out of the end zone for a safety. So, I'm giving Michigan a few points. So they're not going to get shut out, I think. So that's all I got for you. Fight on to the less than 1%ers.
So DeReal, hang on here. So, of course, you can do whatever you need to do. But Hummus Hero is standing by. So I don't know if he wants to talk to you directly. That could be. I don't know if you're up for that.
If he wants to come on, I'm willing to talk to him.
All right. We'll see if he is. Hummus Hero, how you doing?
Hey, Mark. I'm doing well. How are you?
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you want to talk to me directly or did you want to talk to DeReal? I didn't know.
Well, he can stick on, but I wanted to talk to you more because you were more siding with him initially, and I can see why you were because it does amount to a conspiracy theory. I'll be the first to admit that, but
And I believe in those.
yeah, I mean,
It depends on the situation. Yes.
right.
I don't believe in everyone.
Sometimes conspiracy theories are proven true. Sometimes they're never proven true, but
Sure.
they're true in reality also. So, and sometimes they're just, tinfoil hat and they're nonsense. But since there's no way to prove it, so I'm not gonna rehash that and try to prove it, because I can't do that. You can't do that. Nobody can refute it or prove it. So I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions.
Yes.
So let's look at a hypothetical. And I've asked this to SEC fans and Dario and other people, and he refused to answer the question in the chat. The hypothetical is, what if the NFC and AFC were owned and operated media-wise by separate entities, and then they played their seasons out, went to the Super Bowl, and the AFC was under control of one media company. They owned exclusive rights to the game and owned and operated the replay booth. Do you think that would be a fair and equitable system, or do you think the AFC would have an argument to say, hey, this isn't right?
Well, that would not be fair, clearly.
It wouldn't be fair. And would you agree that's basically the system we're in right now?
Well, I'm saying that it could be the system, but I don't know that there's a direct line between the actual broadcast of the games and the control of decisions made by officials and the replay booth. That's the connection you're making.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, the officials are paid by the media partners. I mean, all of the money's funneled into one place. Ad revenue, everything comes out of the same people are signing the paychecks for the officials, the replay officials, everything. I mean, unless I'm not seeing something, but I mean, and the college football doesn't have a governing body that actually controls. Like college basketball, it's completely different. You would never have this argument because the NCAA operates and the same thing with the NFL.
Okay.
It's all under one umbrella.
So you're stating all these things as I comb through the college football playoff era, and I'm trying to determine how many controversial calls have we had or blatantly bad calls. So how do you think that works if we're going to take this conspiracy theory? Do the officials just know, hey, we're going to call a fair game. However, if we have the opportunity to do something, if we have the opportunity to change something critical, if it's not going to look bad or obvious in the other direction, then we will take that opportunity. And if we can't change the outcome of the game, we won't, because we didn't have that opportunity, but we're going to make it more than 50-50, more like 55-45 in our favor, meaning the SEC's favor.
Well, yeah, and that's what I pointed out to Dario, because he said, based on what I'm saying, does Michigan have a 0% chance in the playoff this year? And I said, if they blow the doors off of Bama from the get-go, then there'll be nothing to do that can manipulate the game. Like Ohio State against Clemson in 2020. It was absolute just, dragging them across the field the entire time. There was nothing that you could do to manipulate that game because it was just so clear that Ohio State was the better team, more prepared, nothing you could do about it. But it's a pattern, and that's what I'm seeing. And also, once again, not to go into the conspiracy, but look at the last two games that Ohio State played in that were close in the CFP. The Georgia game and the Clemson game. And both times, this is after ESPN Disney has lost Tier 1 rights to the Big Ten. And who were they playing? They were playing against teams that Disney owned Tier 1 rights to. Clemson, ACC, owned by ESPN and Disney. And then obviously Georgia, SEC, owned by ESPN and Disney. And what was the main difference? What was the other one time that Ohio State had a close game in the CFP? That was 2014, the initial time with Alabama. What was the difference in that scenario? Who owned Tier 1 rights to the Big Ten in 2014?
Sure. That was before
ESPN
Fox
and Disney
got involved. Yeah.
Yeah, ESPN and Disney. So, it's a pattern. But back to the initial thing.
Is 2 for 2 a pattern?
It's a pattern.
2
That's
for
what
2?
I'm saying. You know, and even the Michigan TCU game, I don't think it was egregious, and everybody makes it out to just be the one call on Marvin Harrison, which I believe, you know, not to get too far into it, but I believe that's why targeting exists to prevent plays like that. You know, people from being knocked unconscious when they're defenseless. You know, but it was more than that. The Brock Bowers play where he was awarded the first down, that was highly questionable. They brought in some technology that I've never even seen before that was only used in that game to try to show on the replay that he did gain the first down. It was like that red line from out of bounds. Do you remember that? And I've never even seen that before. And then even later on in the game where they awarded Georgia the timeout on the fake punt, that was questionable. The ball had already been snapped. How often do you even see that? They usually never play it below play dead unless it's a penalty after the ball snapped. So, you know, I think that they were keeping, I mean, it's just my honest opinion, and obviously I'm biased because I wanted Ohio State to win. But I think that every time Ohio State was starting to really pull away in that game, a crucial call just so happened to take place that kept Georgia within striking range. And that's how I see it. But so after that, but like I said, I don't want to get back into that because everybody's heard all of this. But the final thing that I'll ask you is, well, two more things I'll ask you. Is there any other sport that you can think of anywhere, not even just in America, in the world, that has a system like I outlined initially, where one side of it is operated and owned and the other people just kind of have to show up, and whether or not there's funny business going on or not, they just have to deal with it? You know, I mean, maybe you could get into it when it comes to Olympics because it's held in, the Olympic Games are held in certain countries where, you know, obviously, but they're supposed to have impartial judges. But I know a lot of shenanigans have gone on in the Olympics, but any other like competitive sport, like, you know, in terms of like tournament play? Because I don't think there is. I don't think that there's another system that is like this. And I think that it's something that most people just don't even consider. And, you know, to me, I don't think that it will be fair. And I don't think that it won't be above suspicion until the media partners own equal rights and we actually have a way to have oversight on the replay booth. Because as far as I can tell, there is no oversight on the replay booth in the CFP. Nobody knows, nobody says anything about it. And like you said, you're not sure exactly how that takes place. I can't say I am either, but as far as I could see, you know, I mean, it's operated in the way that most financial things are. I'm pretty sure Disney's signing the checks for the officials. I don't see how else it would happen. So, you know, and I know that's a lot of people to get on board with this, but the reality is there's no way to disprove it or prove it. But would Disney have, the final question is there anything in place that would stop them from doing it? And would Disney have incentive to do this? Would Disney benefit from doing this?
Absolutely. They benefit. Yes.
And okay, so one more question. Do we think that Disney is above suspicion?
Oh, no. If you know my thoughts about Disney and the way Disney operates as a company, I think it's pretty obvious to anyone who follows the news that Disney should not be above reproach in any such way, the way they conduct themselves. And if my little example of my own personal dealings with Disney, and they were very good to me for the most part, but in the end, oh my word, yes, they were not truthful nor reputable in any such way in that case. But so there's nothing that you've said that I can in any way refute. There are things, everything that you've said, Hummus Hero, can either be put in one of two classifications. Either it's fact, it's accurate, or it's speculation that can't be proven or disproven. But there's nothing that you said that can be disproven. And also, I enjoy and think it's very legit that you simply stated, as few people do, that you're thinking logically and you are putting together an argument of logic, but you're also saying, I'm biased. I get it. I'm biased. So I'm looking for these things and I'm putting this together.
Right.
Both can be true.
Right, and I think that the opposite side of it is that a person like Durrell, he's an SEC fan. So why is he even going to question it? If it was a corrupt system, it's benefiting him, and so many times throughout history. But that's kind of a slippery slope, because if it can happen to us, it can happen to you. You know what I mean? So I would rather have it. I wouldn't be happy with it if it was. Maybe I would turn a blind eye if Ohio State was, winning a title and all the calls seemed to magically go in our favor. Which I'm not saying there weren't some calls that did go in our favor, but I think it's pretty obvious, because that's human psychology. We're more likely to look the other way if something is potentially going to benefit us. And that's why I wanted to come on, because Durrell refused to answer a few of the questions that you did politely answer. And he laughed at it. He said that, oh no, you're just, he was basically making it out to be ignorance. And I don't think it is. I think if you have an analytical mind and you actually pay attention to what's going on and go through the actual points that I laid out, that I think that if you're going to completely be in denial and say there's no possibility, then I think that it's a form of willful ignorance, to be honest. So,
well, he and I were also having a different conversation. My viewpoint was being asked about the actual legitimacy of the call on the field, and then the review of the play and whether it was a correct call or not whether there is some type of biased, or is the process itself tainted and flawed, and is it, well, beyond that, is it corrupt?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I think that the Clemson game in 2019 was worse. I think that it's a better representation if you were to look at one game and say this was, because I think that game, I think the calls in that game were absolutely horrible. And I think it absolutely cost us the game. I don't think that there was, but once again, I'm biased. So,
well, again, you are and I am, but still, we had a watch party during the offseason, and we had 4 or 5 Clemson fans on here, and they were all pretty straightforward in saying, yeah, I get it. I get why Ohio State fans are mad. I get why they think they got ripped off. They all said that.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I laid out my case. So I hope anybody who, because I know I get labeled a conspiracy theorist because I had the idea prior to it, because I looked at the model and I thought that, this really isn't right. And most people just aren't even aware of it. They're not aware of the actual setup. They just think that everything's above board and that, these companies are beyond suspicion. And it affects Disney's bottom line. They like to have, if in theory it was going on, what's better if you're Disney and you're telling a story, the people who are most famous for telling stories, than to have the villain there. Ohio State's the villain. You know what I mean? They're there to be beaten. The big, and the SEC, hero sweeps in and, Stetson Bennett wins you the game. So, but that's me. That's the conspiracy minded side of it. So, but at any rate, I'll let you go, Mark, but I'll just say, we'll see what happens with Michigan and Bama. Like I said, if Michigan absolutely comes out and they just blow the doors off of Bama, then there won't be any way that they can stop it. It'll be like 2020 Clemson, Ohio State. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you,
sure,
we'll just wait and see if it's a close game, and let's wait and see what happens with replays, because I'll be eager to see how that unfolds.
All right, Hummus, thank you so much for dropping by. We appreciate it. It's good to hear from you.
Thanks for taking my call, Mark.
Absolutely. All right, before we turn the thing over to John here, who sets us up for the Ocho, and I know we are a few minutos past the Ocho. Sorry to mix my Spanglish there, but let's show everybody the updated standings for the Bowl Challenge here. Let's look at this thing. What do we got? And I'm not going to know who everyone is here, but I'm sure some of these names will ring a bell and we'll know. Hey, John.
Hey. Yeah, this is a good time, this thing. I'm number 12. So
Very cool. So I am first going to give credit to Corey Bradda, because Corey Bradda was the one who said, Mark, why aren't you doing a bowl challenge? I don't know. I didn't think of it. Okay. And then I'll give credit to Joey Foster, of course, because I called Joey and said, Joey, can you set up a bowl challenge? And he said, absolutely. So there we go. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Joey. And let's see here. So we've got the confidence. We went with the confidence rankings here. So we got Mr. Mittens is off to a nice little 7-1 start, and it's maxed out basically 100% of his points. I don't know how it's 99.9. Maybe he had a 1 pointer, and maybe his loss was very minuscule. Wow.
Yeah.
Mike Fort, we know who that is. Mike's off to a nice start. Good for you,
Traveling
Mike.
Fools.
Traveling Fools. And I think everybody out there pretty much understands that, yeah, the record is huge. It's big, but it's how many points have you saved? How many points have you wasted with your losses? So it works hand in hand. There's a little bit of both on both sides of the table here.
And I'm
Joey?
sorry, I can't
Yep.
put much confidence. Like, I wasn't sure about Old Dominion. Like, so I mean, I'm saving some of the larger.
Well, shoot, 6-2. That's nice. And again, the point total, as long as you've saved it, and it sounds like you have. Corey's 5-3, but he's got 66 points. Maybe he's got 3 very low losses there, low level losses in terms of the points that he's committed. So, yeah. So B Bean recognize that. Moose, of course. We recognize Moose. Oh, Jackson. There we got Jackson. Jackson's 930-97's pick 3. Okay. Let's see. Anybody else? Cole, GBR. Know who that is. And Casey Mallory.
Casey.
There we go. Very nice.
Yeah, we got a lot of folks doing this.
Yeah, so it
Pretty
looks
cool.
like 30 signed up. Very nice. So thank you, everyone that signed up. And we will we'll look at the entire standings, of course, and have fun with it when it's all said and done. And we will be awarding some free gear to first, second, and third place.
How about that?
Very cool. All right, John, well, take it away. Appreciate you being here. And you just alerted us a few minutes ago that Dante Moore has committed to Oregon.
That's right. That's right. It was Ducks Wire broke it, and then it looked like On3 and a couple others followed, and it's happening. And he had been tied to Oregon before, so I guess he just reunited, and things didn't exactly work out at UCLA, I guess.
And folks, pretty much as of now, if not before, everything going forward, except for the games themselves in the next 2 weeks, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, they're members of the Big Ten at this point.
Yeah.
Everything that they do is affecting Big Ten play starting in 2024. So, yes, we invite all former Pac-12 members of those 4 schools to just feel right at home, fully integrated into the Big Ten. So join our offering here every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
There it is. Well,
Right,
Mark, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Before. And we're going to get rolling on the Ocho.
Sounds good. Thanks, John.
All right. And we're back for another episode of the Ocho here at the Voice of College Football. My name is John Diadamo, and I'm going to take you through the next 2 hours or so. It is the Ocho here, Voice of College Football. I also host Michigan Wolverines Live, which will be happening tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll talk recruiting, we'll talk preparations for the upcoming playoff game against Alabama, and more. We do have an all-star panel, but I do want to just do a couple of announcements and one topic, and then we'll bring on our panel. So a couple of announcements are, please like and subscribe. Tell a friend that we're live right now. Go over on social, post this link, blast it out, get some people. We do have 87 on the line. We appreciate that. We would love even more. So tell everybody that we're live. Also, Amazon in every description section. And of course, join our Patreon or YouTube membership. So why don't we begin with this, the audacity of Derek McCord. And this is going to help, this is going to set the scene for our entire episode to an extent. I have not seen an example of helicopter parenting like this since LeVar Ball. And those of you who followed LeVar Ball and Lonzo, and there is some helicopter parenting going on. So Derek McCord, formerly at Rutgers, famous player there. His son Kyle McCord was the quarterback of Ohio State. So he's acted as kind of de facto, I don't know if it's agent or just kind of advocate. But I've given Ryan Day a lot of grief, and we've made fun of him on the Michigan show, but he might need to be nominated for the sainthood for dealing with this guy for a couple of years, because you can go to Menace to Sports, where I think they've done a fantastic job of like outlining this a lot better than I can, with people who are actually have ties with the program and everything else. So go to Menace if you want the 55-minute version of this that goes a lot deeper. But essentially, apparently when Quinn Ewers was still there, Kyle McCord and of course CJ Stroud, apparently Derek McCord pushed for Kyle to play and played before Quinn Ewers. Of course, Quinn Ewers probably thought, what the hell? Why is this kind of mid quarterback playing before I am? May have transferred because of that. I don't know, but that's what they think over at Menace. But here's how this flows into now. This flows into now because after quarterback stats that I mean, they're okay. They're pretty good. 24 for 6, 83 QBR, pretty good. But obviously didn't play well in the biggest games, including against Michigan. Plus, he had maybe the best wide receiver we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years in Marvin Harrison Jr. So Derek McCord goes to Ryan Day and he says, I need you to give my son the guaranteed start in 2024, the guaranteed start, and additional NIL money. And this was like a day or two after the Michigan game. Well, Ryan Day said, no, we're not going to do that. He's going to have to compete. Devin Brown's going to be a factor. Air Nolan's going to be a factor. We can't just give Kyle the job on the back of the performance that we've had. So they shopped around, and they shopped around to Nebraska. And Matt Rule, who if you guys haven't seen the Pat McAfee interview, I recommend looking at the Pat McAfee interview of Matt Rule. The guy seems like an old school, just like enthusiastic football guy. He had a preacher for a dad, so he kind of has that mentality when he talks. But most importantly, like, he doesn't strike me as somebody that's going to just give somebody the job. So there was talk about Kyle McCord going to Nebraska. However, I don't think that Matt Rule was just going to hand McCord the job. Here you go. So here it is tonight. Kyle McCord is going to be your starting quarterback at Syracuse. Meanwhile, Dylan Raiola, in a big move, in a move that I think is a big deal for the Big Ten, has officially hard committed to Nebraska as of today. Hard committed. We had been talking about Steve Wiltfong had put in a crystal ball, but it is officially listed now as a hard commit. So with that said, we have 3 panelists that I'm going to bring on to talk about this news, the McCord stuff, the Raiola stuff. We're going to start with one of our reasonable Buckeyes. Sean Garner is here with us. Sean, thanks for coming back to the Ocho.
Hey, John. How's it going?
It's great. It's great. You know, I was thinking like, what am I going to talk about tonight? And then all of a sudden this happened, like literally 30 minutes before Big Ten Live started. So obviously we'll talk about that in a second. We're bringing on Jackson Johnson, host of the Jacksonian on YouTube, and he's with us here for the Ocho. Jackson, welcome back.
Oh, it's great to be back, John. 7 more days till Christmas. I tell you what.
I know. How about that?
On the 6th day of Christmas, the true love gave to us Dylan Raiola flipping from Georgia to Nebraska.
Absolutely. I still have some presents I need to get, so I need to get on that very soon, probably tomorrow. We got Moose in the house. Moose, thanks for coming on early to I saw you were in the back for a bit there for the Ocho, so we appreciate you coming on as always. Go Blue.
Oh, Jackson.
What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Well, but I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Sorry that you're not doing so hot today, man.
Yeah, John, if I end up getting off the panels because I've been having stomach issues, so if I leave, it's right. I'm not doing it intentionally.
You do what you need to do. Whatever you need to do, man. Feel better.
Appreciate that.
We do have one more caller, Peter Atchauer. Peter,
How's it going there, guys? It's my first time. I called into Mark earlier today, and
right.
Really enjoyed it, and just wanted to see if I could hop in. I am a Buckeye fan, lives in Ann Arbor, so it's very interesting times right now. But I really like you, John. You're a good Michigan man.
No one can accuse me of stacking the panel tonight because we have 2 Buckeyes. Okay,
Hey-o.
2 Buckeyes.
It is a little curious that both Buckeyes live in Michigan.
Yeah. My dad is from Ohio. My first game was an Ohio State game, and I just fell in love. You know.
That's gross.
Yes.
So help me make sense of this kind of Derek McCord.
Yeah.
And now obviously they were looking at Nebraska. From what I hear, Matt Rule was not okay with the guaranteed starter situation. So now Dylan Raiola becomes a factor again. Now that McCord is going to be in Syracuse, so there's this whole tangled web here. So Dylan Raiola is now officially a Nebraska Cornhusker.
Well, he will be in a couple days.
Well, hard commit. Hard commit is a Nebraska Cornhusker.
Yeah, it's been a wild couple weeks. This quarterback transfer portal is off the rails right now. I mean, it was always going to be a tough situation. Both McCord and probably better that they're both not in the same room because both McCord and Raiola seem to have parents that are very involved in their child's athletic careers here. That would have probably caused some issues.
Yeah, John. John, I thought it just means we're in the SEC. Why is Raiola from Georgia to Nebraska? That's crazy. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
I gotta say,
the SEC
like,
is the premier place to be.
That's what I heard.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that Dylan Raiola had some helicopter parents. I know McCord's got some, but
yes,
Dylan Raiola went to 4 different high schools.
Did he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This honestly reminds me
4
of
different high schools and committed to 3 different colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'll be honest, this reminds me of the bit from George Carlin where he talks about child worship, where it's like some of these parents worship their children. I think he was talking about situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think the situation with Raiola is about? Why so many high schools? Why so many commitments? I mean, does he have commitment issues?
Question.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know him personally, but just demanding. Maybe a very demanding person. I don't know. Maybe just wants things a certain way.
Well, some people don't know this, but Raiola's dad went to Nebraska, so he's alone there. He played football there, so I think that has a lot to do with it too. I think his dad wanted him to go there originally, but he ended up going to Ohio State and then Georgia, and now he finally decided, hey, maybe I should do this. I don't know. I think that had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, that play there is sick. He literally was about to get sacked, spun around, trucked it, and somehow hit a receiver's hands. Nebraska hasn't had a quarterback like this in a long time.
Really, ever, probably.
Who was the 01 Heisman winner?
They just started throwing the football like 15 years ago. So.
Oh wow! Oh,
that's a some shot.
Are you serious? Oh my god, that's a big play.
If Rose can get some talent around him, man, Nebraska's going to be good. If he can get talent around Raiola, they're going to be really good.
Well, that is the thing that's so confusing, because at Ohio State and Georgia, he would have had loads and loads of wide receivers / tight ends to throw to, whereas in Nebraska, I mean, their classes haven't been horrific, but they're certainly not elite. So why Nebraska?
Their skill position talent this past year was just terrible.
Precisely.
I mean, it was really awful. I mean, their quarterback play was awful too. So their offense was.
Heinrich Hardberg.
Jeff Sims when he was in. Yeah, I mean
Sims in the beginning. Yeah, Hardberg was
a
little.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough going in as a true freshman unless they can work some magic in the portal to become decent on the outside here.
And I could see the fans being excited. I mean, because he's a big time quarterback. He's a 5-star quarterback. I get all the excitement. Get it.
Yeah.
But if you think that just him alone is going to come in there and they're going to be national championship contenders, it doesn't work that way. He's going to have to get talent around him before any of that happens.
Well, one thing that typically happens with quarterbacks, if they commit early in the class, and obviously he didn't, is that they recruit and bring talent with them. But that's not an option for him now. He commits 2 days before signing day.
Well, interestingly enough, he plays at one of these football factory high schools.
He does. Oh, good point.
Apparently, Buford High School
in
Georgia. And apparently, Nebraska has offered some of his teammates already, some of them in the upcoming classes.
Okay.
So
I know there's 2 other huge recruits at his school. So maybe more power to Nebraska. It's amazing they got him.
So Nebraska. Matt Rule was on the Pat McAfee show the other day. And he was talking about how this is a fascinating interview, by the way. I recommend people check it out. Because he was talking about like why he came to Nebraska. He was talking about like, why he prefers coaching college, why he prefers doing this. And he was talking about like, he's going to do it like he did it at Temple and Baylor. He's going to develop players. And then when there's somebody who's lights out in the portal, go after them, he's going to try to develop his recruits, but at the same time, I wouldn't be completely shocked if he goes for at least 1 or 2 wide receivers.
Yeah,
that could go with Raiola here.
You have to. I mean, they don't have any option.
How are the boosters in Nebraska? They got big pockets.
And I'm sure Raiola.
Nebraska's absolutely loaded. I mean, the nation runs on high fructose corn syrup. I mean, it basically it's going to keep the coffers are strong, and the commitment to the program. Nebraska They've got some of the best fans and like best boosters.
Without question.
They deserve to have some success because
John, I've been hearing some big time rumors about a certain quarterback from USC might be coming to Michigan. Have you heard that?
Is that
Malachi
Nelson?
Malachi Nelson?
Malachi
No. Armani.
Armani. Oh, the cornerback.
Damani. Yeah, Damani Jackson might be coming to Michigan. I heard.
I heard he's good friends with. Yep, that's what I was gonna say.
I've been hearing that. It's been going around. So I don't know if it's true yet, but it's been heating up. He's a good player too. So
I could see him going to Georgia too. Apparently he's got some Georgia ties, and they kind of need to shore things. I mean, they're going to be fine. Carson Beck's coming back. They're gonna be fine, but they might want to shore things up on defense a little.
So Michigan, is Wallace? Is he out of eligibility now? The other corner, he was a grad transfer, I think, right?
He might have one more year.
I know Will Johnson.
He's got so much eligibility now.
Sanders
There's a possibility he's got one more year.
yeah, people don't realize how much money Nebraska has. And Neil, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's they care a lot about their football program.
I really don't think they're a sleeping giant, though. I mean, they are obviously a historic power. Like, there's no questioning that. But I just can't see them becoming a 10-win team consistently, even with a quarterback like Raiola.
I think they can get to that level. That level is attainable for them. Them being like among the elite of the elite, a national power. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream, but this can actually they can reach like consistently the level they were at under Bo Pelini, I think, and maybe a little bit better than that. Maybe a team that can sneak into a Big 12, Big 10 title game here and there.
Yeah, and 12-team playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
they
can be in there like once every
playoff
years. Yeah,
they might be able to get in once every few. Yeah, Mike G. Yeah, I just saw that. I was looking it up, and so this was his last year.
Yeah.
So you never know.
So, the cornerback depth. I mean, the reason he came in, the cornerback depth was pretty thin at Michigan to begin with.
Yeah.
Right. So, they might be. Getting some help from the portal probably.
That year at Michigan, I'd hope Wallace get drafted. He might be a late rounder, but he might get drafted now with the development he got from Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6th round maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
7th round. So with all this said, I mean, what do you all think? Especially like the Buckeye fans here are probably a little bit more in tune with this than I am. But like, imagine being Ryan Day and having to deal with Derek McCord and having to deal with this whole McCord situation. And meanwhile, you've got Aaron Nolan coming in. You've got Devin Brown, who seems like he's going to be a contender. So to ask to be the guaranteed starter in 2024 when you have both of those players just seems like I don't know if he earned the right to ask for that after the performances. Like, he was fine. He had 8th QBR in the country. Not terrible, but it seems like Ohio State expects more from their quarterback if they're going to be the guaranteed starter.
Yeah. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. I mean, he did. If you looked at his body language through the year, he kind of just looked like the weight of the world was on his shoulders the whole year. Like, he didn't look like he was having a whole lot of fun.
That's a good point.
And man, like it was it was probably the best thing for everyone involved. I mean, like he had no way earned the right to just say this is my job, and if I can't have it, I'm leaving. If that's his response to that, then hey, you're better off being gone. I didn't want to see him gone. I wasn't clamoring for him to leave, but you know what?
I haven't seen this much distaste for a quarterback since like the Steve Belisari days.
That was earned. That was much earned. Belisari.
Yeah, that was earned, definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of like
players, man.
who could start next year, like you can answer this too, but I personally, when I saw Devin play, I was not impressed, and I saw why Kyle won the job. Now he can extend plays better than Kyle, yes, but throwing ability, I did not see good throwing ability from Devin. That's just my opinion. I'm not a quarterback guru, but and so I think it's going to be Keenholz or Noland, in my opinion. Lincoln Keenholz, possibly.
I don't know. Reports on Devin Brown from sources I trust are that he's been outstanding.
That is what I've heard too.
So
I'm trying.
I mean, the bowl game will tell us a lot.
It will,
you know?
And of course, I'm rooting for him.
I got a question for you Ohio State fans. Are you guys worried at all about how many people are hitting the portal? Are you worried about some of your players flipping to Miami and other schools too?
You have to expect us. We've got guys deep down on our depth chart that can go to like top 25 programs and play.
I can understand like 7 to 10, but not 15. That's a lot of people.
That's a
lot of people.
Yeah, but they're mostly leaving, I think, for a reason. They weren't their future wasn't likely to involve them being contributors. So I mean, I don't like seeing guys go, but it's probably in almost all of these situations, it's because they need to find a better opportunity for themselves.
Yeah, I'm in all full agreement with you. I mean, Fleming, he was the number one receiver, but he only had 900 yards receiving in his years here, and all the other guys were depth pieces. Outside of that,
what about Justin Scott? He was a 5-star. He flipped to Miami.
Yeah, that one stung. He's actually my favorite recruit in this class, so that one did hurt. But I mean,
when I saw that Instagram picture of him like with that Photoshop South Beach and the money in his hand, I'm like, I don't know. I think we kind of dodged one here. I don't really want that kind of.
Also, some in the chat pointed out that running back Lyle just flipped from Ohio State to Miami too.
Miami, Florida specifically.
Ohio State only had one running back in this class, and he's still committed.
Peoples, right?
Peoples, yeah. He's still
Miami's dropping their bags, man.
Yeah, they're trying to get back to glory days, I guess.
Trying to get to 9-3.
Yeah, and I know the big cat they're after right now, and that one I would be hurt if they lose JJ here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, seriously,
I'll be feeling that one.
Hey, Schraub, obviously this is a maize and blue comment, but he's saying it might be a culture thing.
Are you talking about the Ohio State?
Yeah,
all the transfers.
See, here's one reason I definitely don't think it's a culture thing. There have been no players announcing that they're sitting out this bowl game yet.
That's
several names a few names I expected to sit out have announced that they're playing. So,
MHJ is probably the only one who's going to sit out, right?
I mean, he hasn't announced that he is.
That's true.
If he does, I mean, if he is going to go to the draft, I don't really want to see him play in this game. I don't think it's good. It's the best thing for anybody involved. But who knows?
Yeah.
Jeremiah Lambda, one of our Penn State.
Yeah, about Smith too.
Has asked about Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, I heard he might flip too.
There was somebody who posted who created sort of a fake On3 account and made it and posted that Smith had committed, and then all the a bunch of typical Michigan followers reposted this as
I I was like, this looks fake. This looks like a
I
parody.
didn't repost it, but I mean, you knew that was going to happen. Michigan fans love when something bad happens to Ohio State.
Of course.
Calvin,
It's
we
like
don't
same with Ohio
know.
State.
According to the Buckeyes on the panel, we don't know if MHJ is going to sit out. He might. I mean, if he does play, I don't think I could see him being on a snap count. Like, I don't think he's going to be playing like the whole game against Mizzou. But you know, he might make some appearances and catch some balls.
Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis need live games reps.
MSJ could pass out water to all the players. That'd be a good job, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't.
It's a hydration. Was it hydration engineer? Is that what he was?
Gatorade.
Gatorade.
No, you're drinking the wrong stuff.
I could see them, like, if he's willing to play, Devin Brown's officially going to be running the game.
According to Devin Brown is the starter. The Ohio State Buckeyes haven't announced it, but he kind of maybe let it slip during a prep talking with the media that he is going to be starting this game.
Jackson, you good, buddy? You've been awfully quiet over there.
Just soaking it in.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I think that it would be pretty cool to see Marvin Harrison Jr. play, but if he's not, I completely understand. Question is he going to be officially declaring draft status for the 2024 draft, or will he return? Because I know that he said he wants to get a shot at revenge against Michigan next year.
And playing Indy like his father, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
I think he's going to turn down $25 million.
Why would he want to come back just to lose again? I'm not trying to be rude or nothing.
Wow.
I mean, he's already lost, 2 or 3 years in a row to Michigan already?
Me personally,
I mean, they did lose, but he balled out.
I couldn't let myself go winless against my rival. That's just me now.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like $35 million, lose to Michigan again.
If Marvin Harrison comes back, Ohio State's a huge favorite to beat Michigan in the shoe next year.
We might not even have JJ next year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, next year, with the Big Ten having no divisions, we could see another Michigan-Ohio State matchup in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah. I'm not as high on Michigan
with
next
our
year.
Schedule, I don't know. Yeah, we're losing a lot of people. With our schedule, as bad as it is, I don't know. It's going to be a tough task to make
if
it.
JJ comes back, maybe there's a chance of that. But
that's key. If JJ comes back, we have a shot. But we have to get better because we're losing a lot of talent. So.
What about the rumors I've heard about Dante Moore coming to Michigan if JJ does leave?
He's going to Oregon.
You've got our next topic. So here we go. So
that's a segue for you.
How about that? Thank you for that.
Whoa!
So we do have breaking news from Ducks Wire as well as On3 and some others. It looks like they're coming through right now that Dante Moore is going to Oregon after a year at UCLA.
Dante Moore beef stew to Oregon.
Ohio State plays Oregon next year.
They do.
Wow, that could be a matchup. Dante Moore versus whoever the other, Devin Brown or Aaron Nolan.
Michigan also plays Oregon too.
I mean, it's almost certainly going to be Dylan Gabriel starting for Oregon. I think Dante Moore.
That's right.
Transferred with the idea he realized he needs to.
No, you're right. Yep.
That's Dylan why I don't understand why he went to Oregon.
Because he realizes he wasn't ready for football. I mean, money may have something to do with it, Jackson, but I think he also realizes. I mean, he had a very rough true freshman year, and I think he is ready to sit back and learn a little bit and develop.
I'm happy he's not going to Michigan. That's all I can say.
Check this year. I'm sorry.
I gotta be
Well, he
honest.
can't-
I gotta be
Go
honest.
ahead.
Next year, we will be seeing Oregon Washington on rivalry week next year. This makes me pretty excited. The quarterback battle between Will Rogers
Yep.
and Dante Moore. That's gonna be a great QB matchup right
Wow.
there.
Well, Jackson, Dante Moore kind of burned his bridge with Michigan. He was supposed to go to Michigan, and then he ended up going to Oregon, and then he flipped from Oregon back to
UCLA.
what was it? What was the other one?
UCLA.
UCLA, and now he's going back to Oregon again. So I'm kind of glad he's not coming to Michigan.
Sounds
this-
like you guys dodged a bullet big time.
Dante pick 6 more. Yeah. Well, to be fair, that was with a pretty rough UCLA offensive line.
Yeah, UCLA doesn't even
no
have a home
favors.
field advantage. Oregon's got a home field advantage. UCLA does not. Nobody's intimidated
In my
by the road.
opinion, Moore's
People get
overrated. In my
intimidated by-
opinion, I think he's overrated.
What'd you say, Moose?
I think Dante Moore is overrated in my opinion. So I'm kind of glad he didn't choose Michigan.
Yeah, Dante Moore was committed to Oregon for a few months under Dan Lanning. So this isn't like a complete shock, but yeah, I like the humility to know that like it's maybe you need to sit a year, let Dylan Gabriel start, learn from him, and learn from one of a young up and coming offensive coordinator, and then he could play and run the offense in 2025 if he improves into that kind of quarterback. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this a little bit on the After Dark show last night. I think a lot of these younger quarterbacks would be better situated, like finding the right program.
Yep.
Embracing the fact that maybe there's, you've got some quality experience in front of you. Go to a place that's really going to nurture you and develop you, right, rather than just chasing playing time at a program. Because if you're going to a place where, as a true freshman, you walk in and they hand the job to you, how strong is that program really?
Well, chasing the bags. It sounds like he's chasing bags too.
Yeah. I don't know how much.
I just don't understand how you go from Oregon to UCLA and then back to Oregon again. Like, I don't understand.
Phil Knight. How about Dan Lanning killing it? I mean,
man, Dan Lanning's winning. Although he's just gonna have to slay the dragon that's Washington. Other than that, he'll be good to go.
Well, Michael Penix is gone, right? After this,
yeah.
He's like 50 years old or something.
Yeah, he might declare for retirement.
Yeah.
AARP.
QB.
So,
Will
real
Rogers.
quick question: Who do you think starts for Michigan if JJ doesn't return? I mean, are they really going to go with Orgy?
Moose.
Ooh. Good grief.
They've got a pretty good 4-star true
Moose,
freshman coming in, Jaden Davis.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have
So
Jaden
you've got
Denigal in there.
You've got Jaden Denigal, you've got Alex Orgy, you've got Jaden Davis, and there's always the possibility that they get another transfer quarterback still.
Absolutely. Cam Ward's still out there, so
Cam
I
Ward.
don't know. There's a bunch of names.
And there might be a big name or two that emerges after bowl season too.
In 2025, we already got Carter Smith, and we're probably going to get Longstreet and possibly Montgomery too. So I think we'll be fine in 2025 too.
Conundrum, that is not true. The Seahawks, apparently, the scouts, the Seahawks really like what JJ offers. He's been projected to go in potentially even the first round. So I don't think that's the case, Conundrum. I think somebody would take him.
Speaking of that, John,
he's not going to go undrafted. He'll be in the NFL if he wants to next year.
Speaking of that, John, if Seattle loses tonight, the Lions clinch a playoff spot.
Hey, really?
When's the last time you could say the Lions were in the playoffs? It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
It was
There's
Caldwell.
a lot of buzz in
2017, I think it was.
Is that when Megatron was in there?
No, I think he had been retired for like a year at that point.
I think it was.
Yeah. But he,
I think they made that one year they got smoked by Dallas. Oh no, they lost a close game or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Controversial.
It was.
Yeah.
And but
before
the last time they won a playoff game, they have the longest playoff drought of any team in the playoff.
It was 91
victory drought. Yeah, only won one playoff game in the entire Super Bowl era. One.
Yeah, but to answer the question, well, Michigan will be fine. There really is a chicken and egg situation right now, because from what I understand, Jim Harbaugh is also maybe basing his decision at least a little bit on if JJ comes back or not. So, like, who's going to go to the NFL? Is it going to be Jim Harbaugh? Is it going to be JJ? Or is it going to be nobody? I mean,
I would think this would be kind of a good time to bolt if you're going to do it, because, like you said, an entirely new O-line next year, all new skill position players everywhere.
Yeah, John, I don't like the fact that Jim hasn't gotten an extension yet. That's not, to me, that doesn't look too good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Jim waiting for something? I don't know.
If it doesn't happen this week, he's going to shop for NFL offers again.
I think so too.
And you know what I heard, John? I heard that the Chargers just fired their head coach, so that's not good.
Yeah.
And that's Jim's dream job. That's his dream job. So I don't know. I hope.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get it.
I thought the Raiders and Bears were Harbaugh's dream job.
The Chargers and Raiders are definitely looking for a new head coach, and the Bears probably more likely than not will be looking for a new coach.
Like, what if Harbaugh said, "I want to coach at the Bears"? Like, kind of like how in 2021, Mario Cristobal was saying, "I would love to go back to Miami." Like when the AD was asking, "Hey Mario, want to go to Miami?" Mario goes, "Yes, definitely, absolutely." Then the AD's like, "Okay, Manny, you gotta go." Wonder if we'd see something like that with the Bears.
Well, John, the reports were that Michigan and Harbaugh were in a 5-year, $55 million contract.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to sign it. I just haven't heard nothing about it since then, though, so I don't know what's going on.
He was supposed to give a promise that he wasn't going to talk to the NFL in the offseason, but that leads to the obvious next thing, which is he just waits. Because what's Michigan going to do if he waits? Nothing. Like, they're going to fire him? No. Like, so he can just wait it out, see what the NFL offers him. That's what I would do. Like, especially with
that doesn't look good either, because now Harbaugh's thinking, I'm not signing this because I might want to go to the NFL. So now that looks even worse.
We know he wants to. We know he wants to, because and imagine that, I've said this a million times, but imagine that you're Jim Harbaugh, you're at the Thanksgiving table with John Harbaugh. He's got the Super Bowl ring, and Jim, he's like one of the most hyper competitive people on the planet, and his brother got the Super Bowl, beat him by this much. He at some point he just has that itch to want to go back, and with the Raiders, one of his best friends, Mark Davis at the Raiders, I think that might be the only job where Mark Davis might be willing to give him the control that he wants, because I don't see it happening at the Bears. And I don't know about the Chargers. I don't know enough about the Chargers.
Dean Spanos is a crappy owner. Like, that's the thing.
That's the thing. John, I think that clause in that extension, they did that on purpose to see if Harbaugh would bite. And I think they just figured out that he is interested in going to the NFL.
Yeah.
Because I think the clause was you can't interview for any jobs, or you can't talk to anyone in the NFL during that extension.
Well, we've said that all year. We knew this was. I was going to be. I actually would have been more shocked if he signed the extension without, like, at least looking at the offers. he'll probably. I mean, honestly, I think there is a chance that at the end of all this, he does sign with Michigan again. But he's gonna see if the Raiders will give him the control he wants. I don't think the Bears will, and I don't know about the Chargers. And if they don't, then he comes back.
Take the Chargers. I would take the Chargers job over the Bears any day.
Yeah.
Well, like when he coached at
have
the
a
Niners, here's something to remember. He was tremendous with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick when he was leading that charge in San Francisco. Imagine whoever the quarterback is at the Raiders. We don't know who the QB will be. Maybe it's Michael Penix. Maybe they stick with Jimmy G. We don't know. But knowing Harbaugh, he can make the QB into a tremendous one. But however, downside is you're gonna have to deal with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs and Travis Kelce and all those guys. And the Bronx.
Travis Kelce won't be around much longer, I don't think. I think he's got another year or two.
Yeah, but knowing the Chiefs, I've got a feeling they've got the perfect situation. We don't know who's going to be the Nets head coach at Kansas City, but they will find someone eventually. And they can get like little draft steals on offense. Give Patrick Mahomes some toys here and there.
They haven't done a good job of it the past couple of years. It's their receiving room's pretty thin.
But something to remember in Kansas City, it's all about Taylor Swift.
That's right. Exploring with Ben. Yes, I'll talk to our people to get Oregon and Washington added to. I mean, it's getting pretty crowded, but we got to do it. So I'll talk to our people about seeing if we can add those two, because we'll be adding all four of them, UCLA, USC, and Oregon and Washington. So absolutely.
Oh, we already got USC up there.
Yeah.
Well, there's USC, UCLA, but there's not Oregon, Washington.
Yeah, we got to add those two. I just grabbed it because
tight.
What's that, Jason?
You should have enough room, but yeah, it's going to be tight with how it is right now. You have to push them a little bit more together.
Yeah, and we start going off on the side, and then as more get added, we just create like on The Price is Right, where they have like the whole,
Yeah, just make a whole box of it.
Yeah. Sean's back.
Yeah, sorry, computer issue. Sure.
You're good. Yeah, Taylor Swift. Yeah, so we've got a lot of Taylor Swift discussion. Yep. Listen, I think
the first time that name's ever been mentioned on this program.
Possibly. I think it's great.
I'll be the last one in America.
A lot of people learning football for the first time. I think it's pretty awesome. So
I think she's the Yoko Ono of the Chiefs dynasty so far.
Wow. Wow.
He's a Yoko Ono.
So she's gonna break up the Chiefs. Is that the?
Maybe, who knows?
So I've got one more topic.
That's a good one.
One more topic, and then we'll go on to everybody talks about their team. But Joe Philbin is reportedly one of the candidates for Iowa's offensive coordinator, which it seems like is not really being well received by some people in the Iowa fan base. I think that they were hoping for a larger name, or a name that would have been a little bit more
Scott Frost.
Bold. People said Scott Frost. Even Pat McAfee was saying Scott Frost. I never thought Scott Frost was going to, because there's all that history with Iowa and Nebraska. It would be like if Michigan hired Hartline to be the offensive coordinator of Michigan.
If you're gonna bring Frost in, you might as well keep Brian Ferentz. I mean, what's the difference?
He was actually, but Scott Frost was actually good. Like when he was at Oregon, he was a good offensive coordinator, and at UCF when he ran the offense at UCF. So.
It's yeah, that would be a very odd hire. I haven't heard Philbin. I haven't heard about Philbin really.
He's still going to get Dutcher cream now. Wow.
Yeah, Iowa fans react.
I know Philbin coached as the head coach of the Dolphins, and he was the interim head coach with the Packers 2018.
Yep, the Packers.
When they finally got tired of Mike McCarthy, they're like, oh, okay, you're not doing a good enough job. You're fired, McCarthy.
He was just at the Ohio State Buckeyes as an offensive analyst. So he's had an interesting career. Head coach of the Dolphins, like you said, offensive coordinator. And he did at the beginning of – see, this is why it makes sense. At the beginning of Kirk's tenure, he was the offensive line coach from 99 to 2002. So to me, that makes perfect sense because if Kirk is, in his last year or his last 2 years, he's going to put in somebody that he knows very well and he's very comfortable with since his son got canned. He's not going to take a chance with this name and, they might have ego clashes or whatever. Remember, Kirk Ferentz is God basically in Iowa, and he doesn't want somebody coming in challenging him.
But this is the last thing I think they really need. I think they do need somebody to go in there and shake things up.
They do, but
I mean that's this would be same old, and I think they're gonna get same old results.
Joe Philbin gonna get big denture cream NIL deal.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. That's funny.
I will say though, I'm kind of curious to see how this would work out. Philbin as the Iowa OC, that it would definitely be a lot better than Brian Ferentz. I mean, they're not going to finish 130. They're not going to finish 131st on offense.
No,
so.
Maybe 120th.
They need a talent infusion and they need some excitement.
Any news on where Spencer Petras is in the transfer portal?
Oh, let's see. I thought he was going for a coaching role, but
well, he was a coach on the team this year. So one of the weirdest things. And then he entered the portal. Summer. He got the itch once. Guess he got the itch. He hadn't been sacked enough to.
He's selling "Oops, I Crap My Pants" diaper no commercials.
So it looks like Petras has committed to Utah State.
Oh.
Utah State.
Holy smokes. Man,
you think
hanging on to the
Where
football
was he going to go?
Yeah, do you think that's bad? You think that's bad? Guess where Michigan State quarterback Cole Hauser went?
Rice? Where?
He give up?
Yeah,
UTSA.
East Carolina.
Oh, right. I mentioned this. Yeah, the king of the Pirates.
Oh my God! You know you're a bad quarterback when East Carolina is the only school that will take you.
East Carolina's produced some pretty good quarterbacks over the years, though. They had David Garrard, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
So this leads to a question.
Dominic Davis is another good one.
Yeah.
Have we seen kind of a ceiling here on the transfer portal being this magical thing where everybody goes in and they get some amazing job? Like there's the dark side of the portal too, which is you could go in there and go to Utah State or East Carolina or Syracuse even. I mean, that's kind of a pretty major step down from Ohio State. So like, do you think this is going to lead to more quarterbacks staying, playing in their bowl game? maybe trying, maybe we're seeing a little bit of we'll start seeing more of a correction.
Well, I think eventually, I mean, the way anything starts out, the first couple years are not the way that anything's going to be long term.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see, and you implement any sort of new system, there's going to be some sort of shockwaves. There's going to be some sort of process where everyone figures it out. And yeah, people will, players will, see some of these stories where it doesn't quite work out. I love the portal. I think it's a great thing that these guys move on, but
it's hard to know nowadays, God.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know anymore. I mean, it's just hard to tell with these kids nowadays. It's just there's like no loyalty anymore. Not like back in the day when your commitment actually stood for something and people stood by it. Now it's like you see kids flipping for like 3, 4, or 5 different schools all in 1 year. So it's like it's nuts.
I don't know. I think it depends on the school and it depends on the culture. Like, I mean, Michigan's had a lot of players stay. Alabama, Georgia, yeah, they get transfers, but they still get people to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaches aren't loyal, so why should the players be?
Of course, yeah. College. I mean, like, if you're a recruit, whoever is recruiting you, I mean, the chances of them being there 4 years later is like 10%. I mean, they're gonna they all move around. I mean, they're all complete vagabonds.
Yeah, Corundum, I said back in the day, that's for you youngins. You don't know nothing about that.
But no, I mean, like, coaches have always been incredibly transient. Incredibly. Like, assistant coaches are always at one place for a couple of years and then moving on.
I mean, nobody is making their whole career about staying at some place like Michigan State or at Iowa State. They may say, it's my favorite place in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
But then 5
So
days
they
later, so I got this job offer from USC and Michigan. I am going to Ann Arbor. I'm going to Tuscaloosa. All that sort of stuff.
What's up, Todd? Thanks for hanging out with us. So as we always like to do, we go around the horn. We talk about your team, how if you're in a bowl game, which I think everybody here is in a bowl game, and kind of like where you're at. So why don't we start with Sean? Obviously, we've been talking a little about Ohio State this last couple hours, but have you heard about bowl prep and Devin Brown? And it sounds like a lot of people are going to be playing or not sitting out.
Yeah. I mean, no one. The only guy who we know won't. I don't think he would have been eligible anyway. Is Mayan Williams. He's declared for the draft, and I mean, good chance he doesn't get drafted at all. But
wow,
he'll be picked late if he does.
I think he could.
Maybe. I mean, so but that could hurt because if Travion's not there, then we don't have Chip Trainum or Evan Pryor in this game. So he'd be down to Dallin Hayden essentially at running back.
Yeah, I thought Travion was coming back. That's not official yet.
No.
Okay.
No, he has not announced publicly.
Okay.
One way or another, but no. So I mean, bowl practices are generally very tough. They kind of beat the crap out of you, especially the first week or so. And yeah, lots of good competition I hear. And Devin Brown's looked really good. And other than that, yeah, not much to. The team seems like far more locked in, like very engaged in winning this bowl game. I don't think if they lose this bowl game, I don't think you can use the excuse that they were overlooking it. They seem, certainly the interviews I've heard, they seem very engaged in this game.
Peter, anything to add on that?
Yeah, Sawyer said he was. It's BS that fans are whatever are saying that they're not taking it seriously, and they definitely are, and they want to win it. And so I fully agree with that. It's really hard to predict this game. I'm doing a bold challenge thing with my friends, and I didn't put too many confidence points because, yes, a lot of people are still playing, but who's trying to quarterback? Is MHJ playing? There's so many questions around Ohio State, and Missouri's offense is quite good from what I'm gathering.
Right.
And so I'm actually
they're really balanced too. They're really they've got a great receiver, the guy who will be probably the number one receiver in the country next year.
Precisely. So I am very excited, but I didn't put a lot of confidence points in my confidence pick because I don't have a ton of confidence, as I said earlier, in Devin Brown. So, but I hope he proves me wrong. I'm obviously rooting for the kid. He's at Ohio State. This is his shot. Of course, I want him to shine. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Missouri's defense, I don't know a lot about them, but we should be able to exploit them if Travion plays, if Devin plays well. It's going to be interesting to watch just because there's so many question marks heading into the game. And the young players like Ennis and Tate, like you were talking about earlier, Sean, hopefully they'll get a chance to shine in the bowl game and see what the future, what we have in store for the future.
Well, before we get to Moose, we do have a relevant super chat related to Michigan and Bama. So Nick, $1.99, thanks for the contribution. He is predicting U of M 28, Bama 16, and then Daryl MVP is going to call in sobbing live. Nick, I mean, we certainly hope. Those of us who are Michigan fans certainly hope that you're right on the first part. I don't see Daryl sobbing. I do think Daryl will be here either way. He usually is here.
He'll be chirping.
Win or lose. So,
what? How much will the percentage of Michigan winning the national championship rise if they beat Alabama? Will they have like a 5% chance? Maybe
I think we might get up to 5. Yeah, I think it might go all the way up to 5. But
I honestly think the winner of the Rose Bowl is going to win the national championship, and I believe that.
That's what the majority of the people on the ESPN Bowl Challenge predicted, and I was not shocked, but I was like, wow, the numbers are heavily skewed to winner of the Rose Bowl.
I'll be kind of shocked if Washington wins it all, but I think between the other 3 teams that they all have almost even. It should almost be even money between those 3.
I agree. I concur. I would not be surprised if
any
one of these 4 teams won it all. I mean, Michael Penix is a tremendous QB, and I know because if we beat Michigan, and if we do, I'm thinking, crap, we got to go against either Michael Penix or Quinn Ewers.
But Washington doesn't stop. It doesn't have a great defense. They don't stop the run.
Yeah, I know that. But Alabama has always had trouble with really good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only team that I'm barely thinking we could probably Michigan could probably take is Washington. Texas looks tough, and obviously Bama is Bama. Maybe not quite at 2019 level, but still Nick Saban coach Bama team.
Texas is going to be. They're very tough to run on too.
Yeah, they're big.
The game's going to have to fall on JJ's shoulders if they play Texas.
Tough matchup.
I will say though, regardless of who wins the Texas Washington game, if Michigan beats Bama, and then they play the winner of Texas Washington, that's going to be a rematch next year in the regular season. So Michigan's going to be playing Texas, I believe, on Fox mid-noon kickoff for week 2, and they're going to be playing Washington in October. So that's going to be a tremendous game right there.
So Michigan's playing both Texas and Washington next year.
They are.
Yes, because Washington is joining the Big Ten.
Yeah. Ohio State is not playing Washington, and they were supposed to play them next year. But
Yeah, but Ohio
that-
State's going to play Oregon.
Yeah.
Hey,
So-
I like this comment from Badass Buckeye. I've got Michigan 30, Bama 27.
Bless you, John.
Thank you. Book it. So there you go. So Moose, it's your turn to anything you wanted to share about the team, bowl prep. Obviously, we'll cover it. We'll cover what we can tomorrow on Michigan Wolverines Live as well.
I haven't heard too much, but I've been watching interviews and stuff, and it looks like they were interviewing JJ about the Bama matchup. And one thing I was worried about was his health. If he's 100%. But he was all smiles in the interview, and he said, "Oh yeah, I feel 100% right now, so I feel a lot better." So that's good news for Michigan fans because, as you know, when he played Iowa, he wasn't really scrambling around too much. So, and that's not like JJ at all. JJ is usually, if he gets pressured, he's got the capability and the talent to scramble with his legs. So I knew there was something wrong with him, but he says he's 100%. So if he says he's 100%, then I believe him. So yeah, that's pretty much. That's all I really got. I don't got too much on Michigan.
I was going to say something about this, the Michigan. When I saw the all Big Ten teams, do you think some of these Michigan guys are getting recognition just based off of the helmet and the because I saw like Ladarius Henderson, first team All Big Ten, Carson Barnhart, second team All Big Ten. I'm like,
Barnhart was terrible this year.
are these people watching the games? I mean, do they just see Michigan linemen and just put them in there?
I heard our entire offensive line got first team.
Well, they all got something. They were all first or second team, every single one of them.
I heard every single one of them got first team. I think I heard.
No, I'm pretty sure Barnhart was a second teamer. And I think Keegan.
I know Zinter, Nugent,
and Henderson were all.
Who was the other guy?
Ladarius Henderson was all. They were all first. Team.
Henderson, and I think
I just
77 got it too. I'm not sure about Barnhart though.
Yeah, no, he did. I saw it. My jaw hit the floor. I'm like, are they
Keegan? Keegan. I think Keegan did too.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but I'm like, did they just get this based off of reputation? I mean, they had a good all line. They were good, but not every single one. Like they shouldn't have had 3 first teamers. I mean, they're like, I don't know. Does that seem like a little bit over? Like they're getting.
I think Barnhart is the weak link though out of our line because he got cooked quite a bit against Penn State. He's not good against speed rushers. But then they put Barnhart in at guard. He seemed to be doing better than he was at tackle. So.
Trente Jones is the right person to be at right tackle, I think. So in some ways it's addition, it's helping. Obviously we all give our best to Zach Zinner and his family and everything that's going on there. You don't want to lose a player like that, but Barnhart going to right guard, I think that's a better position, at least for him. And then Trente at right tackle. So.
What sucks for Zinter too is he's probably going to miss the entire post-draft process. Won't be able
he will.
Sucks.
And John, they did a poll. They did a poll. Zinter is the number 1 rated offensive lineman in the country. So losing him is going to be really bad for us.
Hey, I don't know. There's a clicking sound going on. If we could just
something's going on.
Yeah.
I got to get going. My phone's going to die, but I really had a good time with you guys tonight, and hopefully I'll do it again.
Thanks so much for coming by and for being a first-time caller, and then coming back for the Ocho.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good rest of the night, okay?
Awesome, Peter.
Stay safe, stay warm.
Thank you.
Okay. Moose, anything else on the team?
No, not really. That's about all I got.
Okay.
You
And
got
you know
anything?
what?
Do you got anything on it?
I mean, I'll save my anything I might have thoughts for tomorrow. Michigan
Not
Wolverines
really.
live at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. So we'll figure out a couple of things to, a couple of reports from, the practices and everything. But
I just been hearing mainly about the transfer portal and about Damani Jackson, and
yeah,
we got a lot of crystal balls. I heard we got like 8 to 10 crystal balls coming that they haven't committed yet, but they're closing in on it.
Okay.
So I mean, it's heating up for Michigan recruiting. It's heating up in 24 and 25. As far as the postseason, just from what, like I said, what I heard from JJ and heard Donovan Edwards talking a little bit. I haven't heard a lot about it. I think they're keeping a lot of stuff to themselves. They're not revealing a lot, which is a good idea. You don't want to give them anything. To read or read you on. So, but other than that, I'm just waiting for the game. I'm tired of waiting. I can't wait for the game to start. So,
oh man,
yeah,
that's gonna be fun 2 weeks from now.
It is.
That's the worst part is waiting for the game to get here.
Yeah, just
right. I mean, the waiting part,
especially after Michigan loses 2 straight playoff games. Like we Michigan fans all over. Like, can we finally break this like streak of playoffs and actually win one? Because that would take away a lot of haters out there argue their arguments.
They really need to, John.
Absolutely.
Because just like you, I'm getting tired of the narrative that Michigan can't win a playoff game. I'm tired of it. So
yeah, I mean, and it's a true narrative,
they need to break
unfortunately.
through.
But hopefully the beating Bama would really help that. Speaking of Bama, Jackson, what?
Even if they don't win a national championship, even if they could just win the semifinal, that's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Of course, you would like to win a national championship, but I mean, if they don't, winning the semifinal is a good start. Just to get a playoff win would be good for Michigan.
Did everyone know Matt Patricia is now calling the plays on defense for the Eagles?
Yep.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't even think he had a job at the moment, but there you go. So Jackson, any thoughts on Bama and anything that you're hearing from the Bama side of things?
Not at the moment, but I will let people know on the updates on Twitter and Instagram on what I'm hearing. But anything more that I got, it's on the Meet the Enemy Alabama panel on Michigan Wolverines Live from last Tuesday on Michigan football at the Voice College Football, where Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports, Tide Guy, and I talked with John about our take on the 2024 edition of the Granddaddy of Them All. It's in the live chat, and it's a great watch.
Yes. I just posted it again from the main StreamYard here. Definitely check it out. It is. We got to hear from you. We got to hear from Tide Guy. We got to hear from Only Talk Sports Jeffrey, and you each bring your own kind of perspectives to it. And what I heard was 3 reasonable Alabama fans predicting a 3 to 4 point Alabama victory, which I thought was that's very reasonable. Nick Saban, who had good rationale for it. Of course, I went the other direction and went 3 points Michigan, but still.
And John, I noticed Daryl's pointing out our 0-2 record in the playoffs. What's Kentucky's record in the college football playoffs? Does anybody know?
No, they have 0 wins and 0 losses.
I don't think they've ever played it, have they? Yeah. Okay, just wondering.
They've got a better record than Michigan, then.
There you go.
It's gonna be fun to watch the Granddaddy of Them All. But if Michigan does lose, they will hear that they are like the Dallas Cowboys, Virginia in college basketball, the LA Clippers, the LA Dodgers. they will be hearing some of these comparisons from some people if Michigan loses the Rose Bowl.
Well, Sean, it's easy to have a better record than Michigan when you never play in the college football playoffs. So
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time for final thoughts and where can people find you. So we'll start with Moose. Final thought for you, and where can people find you on the internet?
I pretty much said everything I had to say. Like I said, I'm just waiting impatiently for the game to get here because I'm tired of talking about it. I want to see it go. I want to get it on. Right, Jackson. Let's get it on.
There you go.
But you can find me on Twix. I'm there usually when it comes to recruiting. Sometimes I talk a little trash there too, but if you want to add me, that's cool. If not, that's your loss. But no, that's about it, John. Thanks for having me on tonight. Go Blue, and good night, everybody.
Go Blue. All right, Sean, you're up.
Okay, so no real social media information to give out, but I'm just excited for the rest of this week. Massive day coming up in a couple days with signing day. Huge one for Ohio State because two of the top 10 players in the country, probably the two biggest remaining players in there. There's some rumors, some speculation with Jeremiah Smith and Edric Houston, a defensive end out of Georgia, whether or not they're fully committed. So we'll know a lot more on Wednesday. So that's got that coming up. I don't know if you guys hit Sparty kind of had a huge day in the portal. They picked up some pretty big players in here today too. They got the tight end from Oregon who was an all Pac-12 guy, and Oregon State.
Wow.
And they picked up a couple of Big Ten.
Jack Velling, and wow. Yeah, you're right.
TJ Sheffield who's top good receiver from Purdue, and Jordan Turner from Wisconsin. So yeah, it should be a totally different looking Sparty team next year. That'd be interesting.
The Michigan State Beavers.
Yep, absolutely. And John, are there plans to have the show going next week? I know Mark said he's planning on having the 6 o'clock.
Mark is going to be doing the show, the Big Ten Christmas show. John is not going to be doing the Christmas show. But Mark will be here, so you can call him if and he does his one-on-one calls. Wear your best Christmas sweater, and or whatever.
Oh, I don't have a Christmas sweater, but I'll make sure I can find a Santa hat.
You almost look like you have one on right now. You could just put the Santa hat on, and you would be very festive. All right, guys, take care.
Bye, Sean.
Stay safe, stay warm, Sean.
All right, Jackson, it's down to you. Final thought, and where can people find you?
Up to me. Well, I guess I went over all my final thoughts, but I will say I hope Kyle McCord grows up a little bit, and I really hope so. But Dante Moore, I know that he'll be going to Oregon, learning some pointers from Dylan Gabriel. So I hope he learns all the pointers that he can get. And also, you can check out Friday's episode of the Jacksonian with the host of Locked On Pac-12, Locked On Ducks, and the announcer of Southern Utah Athletics, Spencer McLaughlin, where we talk so much about Pac-12 football and the Oregon Donald Ducks on how they did in 2023 and how the renewal of the Apple Cup and the Civil War is great for college football and how the universities reacted when it happened. Also, you can check me out on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979. I'm doing my best to get to 240 more subs, and I get to the magic number 500. And then you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram and Threads, where I go over my take on college football, NFL, and the other sports in the world, and just other stuff where I'll just run my mouth, or you hear me ranting and raving about ties in the NFL. Let's just say it's not very pretty. Let's put it that way. Don't let your children read the tweets that I put out. Matter of fact, don't let your kids go on Twitter at all. But
that might be good advice.
That's true. But also, you can check out some of my latest updates on who's going to be on the Jacksonian for the next several episodes. And let me tell you, 2023 has been great. And tomorrow is the 6-month anniversary of the Jacksonian.
Whoa! 6 months? That's scary. That's actually scary.
Well, speak of the devil, I forgot. Matt Zemmett, my very first guest ever on the Jacksonian, he's on Trojan's Conquest tonight with Tim Prangley and Mark Rogers on USC football at the Voice of College Football, where they go over some of the latest topics in USC football, especially the transfer portal. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that say Will Howard going to USC is a negative, but I think it's more like a positive. I think it's more like when Jalen Hurts transferred to Oklahoma and it turned out to be a big win. Remember, Lincoln Riley is a quarterback whisperer. He can turn Mr. Howard into a Heisman contender. I believe in his ability.
Absolutely.
John, thank you.
Anybody can do it. Lincoln can.
That's for sure. And John, thank you so much for having me on tonight's edition of the Ocho. One more week till Christmas. It's going to be great. The most wonderful time of the year. And you can also check out my episode with John D'Animo, where we talked so much about Michigan, Ohio State, our take on Bill Burr defending Michigan football, and so on and so forth. And believe me, that's a great watch.
Absolutely. All right, Jackson. Always great to have you.
Thank you for having me on, John.
All right. See you next time.
See you next time, partner.
Okay. And yes, as Jackson has reminded us, please check out at 11 p.m. Eastern tonight, Trojan Conquest live on USC Football, the Voice of College Football, with the Voice of College Football himself, Mark Rogers. We also have Tim Prangley and Mr. Matt Zemmett, who is a fantastic writer and does Trojans Wire at USA Today and all kinds of things like that. A couple of reminders, as always. Please check out the merch store. If you haven't checked it out in a little while, you're going to find some new merchandise for the whole family. Check this out. I'm going to show you what we got. We got some brand new stuff that I think everybody will enjoy. You've got unisex Voice of College Football t-shirts. You've got athletic shorts. You've got a Voice of College Football flag. So let's say you're tailgating. Maybe you're tailgating, or maybe you're having a party, you're having a cookout, whatever. Get yourself a Voice of College Football flag. New phone cases. Oh, these are nice. The Voice of College Football slides. So you wear those, like slippers almost. Those look interesting. Might have to look into those some more. You even have a T-shirt for kids. That's right, folks. Voice of College Football, future subscriber for the kids. You still got your mugs, but now you got your black top 25 mug as well. You've got a denim jacket, sports bra. You got all kinds of things for the entire family, friends, neighbors, college football enthusiasts of all ages. Jigsaw puzzle, that's new. How about some socks? It's cold out there in some places. Not really as much here in Florida. It's about 62 right now. That's about as cold as it gets. But, in some places, you might need the Voice of College Football socks. Backpack, gym bag, mouse pad. I mean, there's some really interesting products here. Even a pet bowl. Feed your pets out of a Voice of College Football branded pet bowl. And it's all at the Voice of College Football merch store, which I'm going to put the link to right here. And just get yourself some gifts. Get your neighbors, friends some gifts. It's the Christmas season, but, get gifts after the Christmas season too. New Year's, Valentine's Day. Maybe there's a Valentine's Day gift in for your significant other who might be a college football fan. Who knows? Hit that link and get yourself some merch. Other than that, don't forget when you're doing your shopping on Amazon. And, I probably will be doing some shortly for last-minute Christmas gifts. Click the link on any description section. And then Mark Rogers gets a couple of bucks and supports the channel. Instead of everything going to Amazon, this way, Mark Rogers gets a couple of bucks. And what's wrong with that? Nothing. Join our Patreon or our YouTube membership. Starts at just $2.99. And then you get access to our Discord chat. And you get access to our community and all of the cool stuff that we get to do. This whole bowl game competition thing. We do watch parties. We'll do some watch parties. I promise we will do a few for bowl games coming up here. Look for a StreamYard link in the Discord in the next couple days to watch some bowl games together. We could do that and fire that up. Absolutely. So definitely join at least one to support the channel. And if you have a business, a product, a service, a personal brand, yes, we can even do personal brands. Contact MarkRogersTV@gmail.com to sponsor either the Voice of College Football main channel. That's what you're on right now. Or you go to Michigan football at the Voice of College Football. Or you go to Iowa football at the Voice of College Football. Or you go to USC or whatever. You can sponsor any of them. The SEC channel. You can sponsor the Big 12 channel. You can sponsor a particular show or channel or the whole 9 yards, the whole kit and caboodle. Contact MarkRogersTV@gmail.com to learn all about that. And we appreciate everybody who considers doing that, and all the enthusiastic football fans that can be part of that for you. And my name's John Diadamo, and I was your host for the last couple hours. You can find me on Twix at John Diadamo. Tomorrow night, I'll be hosting Michigan Wolverines live at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then I'm going to be taking the Christmas time off. So you'll see me again at some point. But tomorrow, definitely. And so definitely stay tuned for that. Once more, just a reminder that Trojan Conquest Live is going to be your next show, coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Voice of College Football Network, USC channel. And we'll put the link in, if we haven't already, one more time, for Trojan Conquest Live. And any last comments? Let's see. Go Blue, thank you for that. Going to be a sigh of relief if JJ stays? Yes, it will. It will absolutely be. Eagles are up 10-3, by the way, with 15 seconds to go in the first half. Going to determine if the Lions get a playoff berth tonight. So that could be very interesting. Rob J, also Go Blue. Lots of Go Blue in the chat. I really appreciate that Wolverine Nation is always here supporting. It's fantastic. We really do appreciate that. Wolverine Nation is everywhere. Wolverine Nation is on all the channels. The Oregon show, we got Wolverine Nation. The USC show, we've got Wolverine Nation. We're everywhere, and we're nowhere. Because that's just how it goes. But we appreciate that. JJ Thank you, Linda. JJ versus Quinn would be a nice matchup. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And it could happen. Very well could happen. Okay. Lions are just a few drafts and trades away from a Super Bowl team. I mean, they got Hutch. They got pieces on defense. They got pieces on offense. But yeah, maybe another offensive weapon, maybe a quarterback. There's going to be some quarterbacks open coming up in the draft here, some really good quarterbacks. I don't know if their current one can get them to win a Super Bowl. Jared Goff. He did get the Rams to a Super Bowl and lost, I believe, but to win a